Sweet.
Hopefully people will join us. And I will
I'm sure they will.
hopefully stay awake. Oh, yeah, I gotta make sure everybody's talking. So, talk, Pete.
Oh, Pete.
Yep, yep. According to
Good.
my little visualizers, everyone is talking. So,
Excellent. Well, that always helps. It's a good start, usually.
yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. A nightcap, and that's it. No more. Um,
Yeah.
because I already drank this much. Look, Pete.
Fuck.
Yeah. I literally.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't
Oh,
looking.
okay.
Look at what? Look at
uh,
what? Sorry.
oh, I said I've already drank this much.
Oh, okay. I mean, that
So,
could be worse.
it's a nightcap. That's it. No more. What was I gonna say? Yeah.
There
So,
we go. Finally. Fucking hell.
what? Oh, you did you get logged in?
Finally.
Yeah, I think it's on their end. I don't think that's your end.
Oh, I know why they've. It looks like they've updated a load of stuff. It's all changed.
Yeah, it's very weird.
More analytics, a lot more interaction. Like, yeah,
Is
they've
it?
done the same. Yeah.
Oh, I did not look. Yeah, I went to go buy adult clothes because I'm grown up and people seem to think I should dress like a grown up. But then I saw this in a Deadpool shirt and I went, nope.
Well, what a surprise. I mean, that's kind of normal for you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, who do I answer to? You know what? Nobody. I own my own business, make my own
You do
money.
you, you do
Yeah.
your own shiz.
Yep, I ain't got no family. I ain't got nobody trying to tell me what to do. So I'm gonna wear
Yeah,
my t-shirts.
why not? I mean,
Exactly.
I got people, but merry all round. Who cares?
Like I might like if my mom were still around and she was like, "I'm having this really nice dinner. Please don't wear a t-shirt." I would concede to that.
Yeah,
If
me too.
I worked in a corporate situation, which I have done before, and it's the only job I got fired from because I can't do corporate. But and they were like, "Don't wear t-shirts," even though I was like, I'm crawling on the floor plugging things in, and you want me to wear a nice blouse and skirt?
Yeah,
Um, but I would try my best to concede.
of
Uh,
course, yeah.
but outside, but I don't have any of that now. Now I'm all about me. Only I take
Hmm.
care of me. I don't know why I'm strong, independent female right now. I'm so tired. Oh my gosh. It's snowing again.
Really
I got trapped because of the where I'm located is up on a hill.
sweet.
So yeah, like it's beautiful. I'm not gonna lie about that. But that means that I
Hmm.
get snowed in even if Belfast is alive and kicking.
Yeah,
Um uh now it's happening again.
I'll be honest. I'm so bored of it now.
Yeah, midnight
Wish it was
tonight it's supposed to.
silly.
I don't want it anymore. I didn't
Yeah, I've
want
had
it in the
enough of it
first
too.
place. Because I
I
got
didn't
stuck
want it.
in the house for a week. I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, well,
I got sad.
it's kind of normal for snow days.
Yeah, but it makes me sad.
Well, yeah, of course, because it's not what you want to be doing.
No, I wanted to be lifting weights.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's not what you're wanting to be doing.
Yes, I need to also work.
Sorry.
I need to go to work as well. I didn't
I
on
mean
two of those
that
days. I
helps.
didn't. Yeah, it didn't work. I went and like helped other people, which is
Oh yeah.
fine. I'll always do that, but it takes away from my personal stuff. Are you listening to see if we're both talking?
Yeah, I am. Go. Wait.
I will say this. I'm very happy with how the Oscars ended up.
Well,
Controversial, I know, but I'm
look, I
okay.
don't. I'll be honest. I've only seen snippets of bits here and there. I know obviously everything, everywhere, all at once. Won 7 awards.
Yeah.
And don't tell me a thing because I have not seen it
No,
yet.
but we did talk about it when it came out, and I told you to go watch it.
I know it's now
But
on
I
Amazon,
also
so I'll
said,
be watching it.
well, I also said that you're probably not gonna like it, but I love it.
Well,
like
from
to.
what I've been told, it is hard to describe it to anybody.
It's my brain on film.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is it's my brain on, no, I'm not. No, I could go already. Can't even think of a good analogy there.
There's not enough gutter talk though, because my brain's pretty much in the gutter. We do know this.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
But
I don't really want to be spoiled on it, obviously, because
no,
I will be watching it. But I only found out yesterday that it's now on Amazon Prime, so it's like, oh, thank goodness.
I might rewatch it then. I've switched out my Roku because the Roku that I did have, the Roku stick, is now discontinued in this month.
Yeah.
So I decided, because I watch Twitch so much, to just get a Fire Stick, and I did that. So I have like all the same stuff I had on Roku, except now I also have Twitch. So
fair play.
And for the audience that's keeping up with us, I still haven't sent Pete his stuff. Or Mike his stuff.
I mean, have you really been able to leave the house to be able to do it? So that's a bit different then.
Yeah, I was going to post the pictures of me all snowed in. I tried to dig out my car. Everyone laughed at me. So next year, I'm getting a mini snowblower, like one of the little push ones.
You mean a Zamboni?
I guess. I like that word. I never really knew what they were, because we don't have that kind of stuff in Texas. I just know that New Yorkers have them, or say that word.
Well, yeah. And also Deadpool.
Yes, that's true.
Thanks, Anna. Appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by.
Oh, hey. Oh, that's all right, Nana. As long as you stop to say hi.
Yes, we appreciate it. But yeah, it's just Monday night. I don't expect many people to show if I'm honest. I just need to get it done.
It's our really big show I've been looking forward to very much. And it's time to banhammer, Pete.
Yeah, I know, I'm on it. I'm trying to work out how to.
I know it's weird. Oh my gosh, Doge. To the moon. But yeah, I've been wanting to do this show for weeks, but it just wasn't happening. Was not happening.
Yeah, I know, it's a strange one, isn't it?
How can I be drinking this much and not feel a thing? Sometimes I worry about me. Ooh, I really have lost weight. Yeah. I say that. And then we had like this social thing at the gym the other day last week. It was awesome, and I loved it.
Okay.
I was like the photographer of the night, which was fun.
Nice.
And then unbeknownst to me, well, not completely unbeknownst, because I did pose for some, people were taking pictures of me. I hate pictures of me. I hate them. I'm too tall.
Yeah, me too.
So when people take pictures of me, they're shorter than I am, and it makes me look terrible. Never take a picture from up below. And I really hate them. I hate them. They're terrible. So I had to deal with that, which was a lot of fun.
Well, take it for someone who hates getting their photo taken because it feels so unnatural. It's like, yeah, I'm not a fan.
It just doesn't. And then, like, I ask people just to be sure. I'm like, does this look like me? And they're all like, no. Uh-oh. He can barely hear us. Me or Pete? Both of us.
Both of us. Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm going to turn us up.
I thought it seemed fine when I checked it.
Well, I was leaning back. I will say that.
Well, it was also because I was probably doing a sound check as well.
Yeah.
So hang on, I'll be back in a second.
I hope this isn't too loud though, but I'm trying not to cross into the yellow, and I don't think I am. I'm talking right now to see if I'm crossing into the yellow, but I don't think I am. So let me know if I'm blaring. Because I don't appear to be peaking on the equalizer, which is good. How am I not like drunk or buzzing? This is crazy, Pete. I have drank far too much. And I feel nothing.
Is that better now, by any chance? Brent?
I was gonna say, to me it sounds the same.
I mean, oh, good. Perfect. I mean, it was a little quiet on the test recording, but I think that's because I was just not really communicating as well. Also, I've been sick.
So we both were sick.
Yep.
I'm telling you, the universe is conspiring against us.
Well, yeah, you came down with it last week, and then, like, literally the day after, I started having a sore throat and headache
that's
and everything. It was bloody annoying.
Yep.
I've woken up every single day for the past week, like, with dizzy spells.
Oh my gosh.
Horrible.
It's terrible. At least I know I didn't give it to you.
That's nearly impossible.
Unless it's a computer virus.
Oh.
I'm so funny.
Shoot me now.
I forgot to laugh.
Shoot me.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying shoot me because I'm sick of this illness.
It really, it sucked. It took me like 5 or 6 days to get over it. And to be fair, I was going to say, I don't even know that I am over it because my nose was still stopped up yesterday. I went to the gym today. I couldn't do anything and my breath was gone. And I was like, I know I need to work on my cardio, but this is like, I was really not able to breathe. I almost vomited.
Yeah. Oh, last night when I went out for a walk instead of recording this podcast because you were busy, obviously.
Yes, very.
And I double booked myself stupidly as well with family. So I was like, oh crap, what do I do? Like, fine, I'll go out. Like, I went out for like an hour and that was a struggle, to say the least. It was horrible.
That's crazy.
So,
I've never been this susceptible to illnesses. Yes.
Shall we get the show on the road?
We will do show. Yes.
Show on road show. Cool. Speaking of which, there might be an actual on the road show later on in the year.
Yeah, that would be very cool. See if
We'll have to try and figure it out though.
I have to lose a little bit more weight, but I'm almost there, and then I'll make my final decision.
Okay. Well. Look, just take it from someone who's already a fat bastard. I don't think anyone will really care that much, but I know it's you. So.
I do. I say this is a lot, people, if you follow me anywhere, but I still can't believe I gained that much weight on lockdown. But 2 years, I couldn't go anywhere. Ireland was way locked down. I heard that the only other city that was as locked down as like the whole island of Ireland was Glasgow. I don't know because I couldn't go over there, and I used to go there like all the time. Couldn't go. So
no, of course not.
But I had some friends messaging me, and I was like, "Really? I didn't know that."
It was just a weird one, really. But hey, I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
It's over though.
Distant nightmare now.
It's not quite distant, but it's getting distant for us. There you still see like people. Shops you still have to wear masks in and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. I'm telling you, it hit us hard. The lockdown did. Obviously, because we locked down so hard, we didn't have as much, COVID as everyone else. But we had to because we're in Ireland. We're very limited. Everything's flown in, Anyway, let's get showing. Let's get showing.
Get the show on the road. So, right, let's start the recording. So I'll count you.
One more drink. Hold on. Okay.
3, 2.
Welcome to Rapid Reviews Radio episode 152. I hope I got that right. I am your co-host, Kiley Wilde. I'm joined by my ever-present weekly co-host, Pete Beckett.
Hello. Say it's a week. It's probably been two
It's
at
been
this
2
rate.
weeklies. Yes. It's bi. The show is bi weekly. So
Well, it's not. It's actually
no,
supposed
it's
to be
not. It's
weekly. It's
weekly.
just scheduling
Yeah.
conflicts and illnesses have just occurred.
I know, it's crazy. We haven't spoken with y'all in like 2 weeks, and you can tell because the numbers disappeared completely. I had a
Yes.
mild panic attack in the middle of it. I was like, "Oh, nobody loves us anymore." And then I was like, Kylie, like you haven't put on a new show in 2 weeks. I was like, okay, maybe.
Yeah,
So
that
we'll
might
see
be
how
a
this week
reason.
goes. We'll see how this week goes. But
Mm.
every week, I like to start the show by asking our guest, which we do not have today, so my co-host, how his week's been. So Pete, how has your week been?
Terrible. I've been sick.
Yes.
So yeah, fun. So you went down with it last
I did.
week, last Sunday, I think, or Saturday, I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah, because you called
Uh,
it, actually, Pete. We set up to record for our listeners at home and our viewers over at twitch.tv/reviews. But we sat down to record. Pete took one look at me, heard me speaking, and said, "Nope, I'm calling it. No, we're not doing the show. You're sick." And he was right. He was right. I was like,
and
no, pass.
well, yeah, I looked at you and you were like, could barely keep your eyes open. Like you looked like you were all over
My
the
whole
place.
face was
Like
just puffy.
face was streaming and
Mm-hmm.
like swollen as well.
I
It's
thought
like,
it was just allergies. And because
yeah,
it was
that's what you
bright
said at the
red,
time.
and yeah, and you're like, no, I'm calling it. So good intuition, good call. Because the next day I couldn't get out of bed. I was very, very, very ill. And then Pete,
Yeah, I remember.
yeah, and then Pete followed up with the next week getting sick. So
Yeah, it was about a day later.
yep. So
So yeah, I've
wonderful,
been
fun
fighting
times.
that off. So yeah, since I think about Tuesday last week, basically woke up with dizzy spells. And
Yeah.
it's not fun. So at least for the first 2 hours of my day, I've been feeling sick and feeling like I'm gonna throw up because of it. So
Never
yeah,
fun.
fun times.
I'm saying never fun, never fun.
No. Anyway, other than that, how's your week been?
My week has been jam-packed busy, so busy that I didn't even get to watch the last episode of The Last of Us. So no
I did.
spoilers.
I'm not talking about it.
Yeah, Pete did. I did want to mention one thing. Now remember, I haven't seen the last episode, so you know.
Yeah, we're talking about episode 8.
The episode before, yeah, episode 8. There's only one part. Okay, so 7 and 8, which we haven't talked about, they were good. They're very, very rushed. I don't like that, but they're still good. Good episodes.
I'm gonna deviate away and say that Left Behind episode was probably the worst of the season so far for me.
That was the 8.
Episode 7.
Oh, 7.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I liked it.
I'm sorry, but Riley barely had any character development outside of I want to be a firefly. That's it.
I found her adorable.
Sorry, how is there a shopping mall on resources that are finite? How are they able to light that whole thing up without Fedra even knowing about it? There's inconsistencies across that entire episode, and it just felt like, oh, look at the thing, and then wait until the very end till you know exactly what's gonna happen. It's like, yeah.
But Pete, would you have loved it more if it was Street Fighter instead of Mortal Kombat?
No, actually, because it just felt like the whole jangling of keys in front of your face.
Oh, I
sort
know.
Of moment.
I will admit that I actually do partially agree with Pete on this. There's some plot inconsistencies with world building inconsistencies. There's no way they wouldn't know that, and some of that stuff was so well intact. You're like, it's been 20 years. And then
yeah, there's no way that the generators or the electricity is still going there. There's no way that Riley could have at least sorted that out, like in the small space of time that she would have to get a whole shopping mall's power up to code and scratch. Also, without anyone else figuring it out in a settlement that's just round the corner.
And it lights up and everything. But to be fair, I will say it does mirror very closely the DLC, and of course I find them adorable. wanted them to win, even though I already knew the outcome.
Yeah, I had no issues with the characterizations of each character
Yeah.
outside of the fact that I felt like Riley didn't really feel much like a character, more a plot device.
Yeah, well, I will agree with you. She was a plot device, 100%. She was a character used to move Ellie's character along.
Yeah.
Which can happen. Which is fine for novels, not so great for television. But, so all in all, I wouldn't say it was the weakest episode for me, but it did have a lot of moments. And I will say, though, that's when I really noticed the rushness of it. Which
Yeah, so
goes into episode 8, which is rushed start to finish.
Yes, I would agree. There were certain parts of it that were okay-ish.
Yeah. They're reaching for emotional payoffs that they haven't earned quite yet. Which
No.
I hate that. They should have given more episodes. But I will say there's one exact moment in the episode that made me kind of... Now, when I say burst out crying for me, I'm not a crier. So that isn't a... No, it's just like
I'm
a
gonna
little...
guess send a shiver down the spine sort of moment.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
And that is when Ellie runs out after being attacked and then killing the bad guy. She runs into Joel's arms and he calls her baby girl, and I just was like, ah! Because again, I've said it here, I've said it in many of my books, and I have said it on all my social medias. I didn't have a dad growing up. I've never been called anything like that. Not princess, not any of that kind of stuff. And so I relate really hard to like Ellie. And then when he called Ellie that, I was just like, I want to be a baby girl. I thought that was a beautiful moment, and it felt natural. That felt earned out of all the stuff. Now, I mean, I am partially projecting, obviously.
Okay, well, because I'm very different in that fact, because I didn't feel like it was earned at all. So for my aspect of it is like, yeah, okay, she's had a harrowing experience. Like, take nothing away from there.
Yeah.
It's the first time I felt like there was real power to Bella Ramsey's performance. Actually, is that moment.
Right.
And I'll give it that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but proven all the way through this entire relationship, you have one moment throughout the entirety of the episodes that actually shows that they are developing as a pairing, and that was the bad jokes moment.
Yes.
And the puns.
That was so good.
But they didn't advance it ever since then, and that moment to me just felt unearned as a result.
I think what they are doing as writers, they're doing a very... Well, you know what? No, I'm going to say the editors, because this is an editing thing, not so much a writing thing. They're making assumptions, which you're never to do for a reader or a viewer, which is, they can assume that other things have happened that they're not watching. Or something else I'm rewatching Chuck, which was one of my favorite TV shows.
Oh God, I need to go back and watch that again, actually.
It's so good. Like, it's so good. But anyway.
Really like the first 2 seasons of it and never went any further than that, because I just lost interest.
I kind of fell off on, like, the last season, but I'm now on season 2, and I just love it so much. I loved it back then, and I love it now. But they also do this, which is a huge assumption that the reader/viewer assumes other things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
But you really can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. You are supposed to show, not tell. You know?
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't show, you can have moments of dialogue that call back to certain moments that have happened as well. And it's good character... Like, it's just good character development, and it just... And I think this is where you've... probably where I'd agree with you on the rush side of things, is that the character development side of things has been particularly rushed.
It's been very rushed. So I'm
Well, that's because they decided to take 2 episodes out of a 9 episode series to focus on side stories that have absolutely nothing to do with the narrative, despite episode 3 being one of the better ones in the season.
probably one of the best written ones. Um, yeah, I think that's a failing on HBO's part. They did it with Game of Thrones. They're doing it here again. Um, it's almost like they want to rush to get to season 2. And I'm gonna tell you straight now. Again, I haven't seen the last episode. I will be watching it either tonight or tomorrow. I don't know. I'm so tired.
Yep.
But having said that, I am not watching season 2. I'm just not. I know what season 2 is. I don't want to watch it. Again, maybe I'm projecting my own personal, whole daddy issues, not the other thing. I'm not going through that. It's like I immediately stopped on Game of Thrones. I immediately stopped watching Game of Thrones on episode, I don't remember what episode it was, but it's the episode where Jaime leaves Brienne.
Oh, okay.
And I did that
Wouldn't know,
because
'cause,
yeah, I know. But I did that because I went through that entire exact thing is exactly what I went through with somebody. And I was like, I don't want to watch this on screen and relive bad things. I watch TV to escape. So I have the same identical feeling to season 2. I watch TV to escape. I'm not watching it. I'm not putting myself. That is torture trauma, and I don't do that. That's not my thing. But I hope it does well. That's not a like an indictment on the series. It's just I can't do that.
I said to you beforehand I probably wouldn't watch it. I will, because I will to a certain degree, because I just want to see what happens with the Joel in 1 at least, and how much they change it.
Yeah.
If they change it.
You report back. You can do the thing, because I'd be curious. I'm open-minded enough to say that if they do it a certain way, maybe I'd go back and watch it, maybe. But
just remember the discussion that we had at the time, where I said I'd seen all of what had happened through the leaks and after the fact, and even I said, narratively speaking, this makes absolutely no sense for Joel's character, despite the fact that I know nothing about this series of games.
Yeah. I've never been so angry at a game in my life.
Yeah, because it goes like that. I know we're rehashing things here from a discussion previously gone by, but it just makes no sense for Joel as a character to be that deceived by someone.
It doesn't. The whole characterization is off, just full stop. And Ellie's is too. Like, I love that they grew her up and they made her a bit grittier, yes. But you don't, like, if you take me now and me at 12, 14, 16, I'm still me. I'm just a little bit, I have a little bit more confidence now. I'm a little bit cockier, maybe. I was pretty cocky back then. A bit mature
and a bit, more sure of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm still me. I'm still that dumb, naive, optimistic, stupid, dumb, cringe child that I was. That never changed. And it wouldn't have changed in Ellie either. So they turned her into some kind of... And you know what? Okay, one more thing. And then we'll move on, I promise. You know what's really bothering me about the show? A lot.
Go on.
2 or 3 adults tell Ellie she'd be a great leader. No, she effing wouldn't.
I'm glad you said that, because that was a big criticism I had with it as well. It was like, especially in episode 8, where okay, episode 8's probably a little bit different, because I think there's like an underlying narrative reason behind that.
Maybe, because maybe.
And it involves a P word and ends in Ado, and that's all I'm saying on that one.
Oh, right, yes. You're right, Pete. You're right about that. But don't forget, in 7, the frickin' sergeant major dude.
Yeah, I know. Tells her that was stupid as well.
Somebody else tells her that. I think it might have actually been Riley.
Why would she be a good leader when she's going against every directive that's ever given to her?
I'm like, Ellie is literally me in high school. I was in trouble constantly. I was in this thing called in-school suspension, which ISS. I was mouthy. I was rebellious. I did my own thing. I was me. I was the same me that you see before you. No part of me was a leader. I wasn't a follower either. I marched to the beat of my own drummer. Ellie
You're
is
just you.
not a leader. Unless you see me as a leader, holy crap, that's terrifying.
Yeah. Not unless your idea of leaders is basically saying that everyone just all they ever do is create Beckett sandwiches, you know. Don't no, it's that throwaway line from The Last of Us Part 2,
Oh, okay. I was like,
where
what?
if you remember where she gets a steak sandwich from the guy who it's
Oh,
like, oh, what did
gosh.
you get? Beckett sandwiches.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Yeah, I know. That's why I decided to mention it as a stupid throwaway line.
So all I'm gonna say is this. And now again, I am projecting myself onto Ellie because that's what you do. She's the main character. You do that when you play a video game, as well as watch TV. But having said that, there are some startling similarities. Ellie is not a leader. Ellie is not a follower. Ellie is a lone wolf. If you choose to be in her pack, she's going to be loyal to you and she's going to take care
Yeah.
of you. And she's going to do everything in her power to make sure you are, the best of the best. And she does that with Joel. Because Joel is in her pack. It's a very small pack. But to put Ellie as a leader of something, which is what they did in, part 2, no. You're doomed to failure. Don't ever put people like me or Ellie in charge of a group of people, because we're all about individuality and taking care of yourself and self-reliance, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know where those characterizations came from, but they made me stop and go, oh,
Yeah.
this ain't good. I don't like this.
Yeah, also in terms of characterization on the show, there is one thing that's been slightly bugging me about the whole thing, is that Ellie is someone who's never ventured outside beyond the walls of Boston's QZ.
Right.
She's never known anything other than Fedra basically being there. Turns out that the Fedra at Boston are like the best Fedra of all, like all of them everywhere, because all the other ones are scumbag, horrible POSs.
Which is really cool that they added that, by the way. I do like that.
Yeah, I do like that aspect.
Very humanizing element, yeah.
But my point is, she knows nothing beyond the walls, but yet she's the one basically directing Joel the whole way around. But Joel's the one with the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see what you're saying. And I definitely, I don't know, there is some characterization that's off. I'm gonna say that now.
Yeah, that's a minor nitpick more than I'd say more.
But yeah, I was like, I want to backtrack and say, having said that, I'm still 100% on the side of this series. It is still the strongest series that's out there right now. One of the best written ones. I'm still want it to succeed. Now, again, I haven't seen the last episode. And if it's anything like Game of Thrones, that could totally change my opinion.
Well, I'm going to say it now. They changed my opinion on it. I felt like, for me, I'm not going to go into details, but I think the first 5 minutes of the episode is fantastic.
The last or the first? What'd you say?
The first 5 minutes of the last episode.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
Okay.
It involves an incident and a character that we I don't believe we've met before.
Right. Okay.
Maybe
they have
not
added characters
in the game as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah, they have added characters. I do know that.
Sorry.
They have added characters, in the past episodes.
Yeah, so this one is a new character, I believe. So it's a new angle. Mm-hmm. But it's also played by a familiar face. That's all I'm saying.
That makes me want to go watch it. I'm tired.
Yeah, it was quite cool to see, actually. But the only thing about it is there was one incredibly cringy as hell line, and I went,
oh no, I'll be listening for it, Pete.
Look, when you hear it, you'll know it, and I guarantee you'll send a message to me saying, ugh, cringe.
Heard the cringe part. But okay, so that wraps up until next week. Next week will be our final
Let's talk about it in more detail.
Yes. Because I will find some time this week to watch it. But that's not the point of this episode. This episode has actually been a few weeks in the making. Pete did a lot of research. I did some research.
I'd
I
say
have a
that
little bit.
probably the reason why I got sick was having to read all of this.
Probably.
I'm joking. It's
Uh,
not really that bad, but hey.
I don't know. It angers me quite a bit, and I have stuff pulled up that we may end up going over as well. But we're going to start with Pete's stuff because he worked really hard on this. But we are absolutely freaking lootly going to be talking about the Sony versus Microsoft Activision acquisition. Did I say Activision? I did.
You did. Activision acquisition.
Okay. Yeah, that was hard to say.
Surprisingly, yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of mad I ruined that because I did it perfectly. Yeah, so if you don't know, and of course you do, because if you listen to the show, you absolutely do know. There's a lot of drama surrounding it. There's always drama when Sony's involved. Go check our actual drama that we did perform, which was redacted for privilege because holy crap, these CEO emails and a whole boatload of emails were released, which is what I have to read if, as we go through this. So, yeah. Brent in chat just said it's going to be a big one. Yeah, it is. I'm so angry. I'm not going to lie. What I'm going to say before we launch into this and I turn it over to Pete. We know we try to chill out on the console wars. Yeah, Pete's our kind of all-rounder. While he is a Nintendo fanboy, but he's very open-minded. I meant that in a positive way, Pete.
No. Fanboy has a synonymous, has a problematic, let's say, thing these days. So I do not want to be associated with that. I would say, I'd say Nintendo fan would be appropriate.
He's our Nintendo guy, put it that way. But if you're a viewer,
wait, got a better word. I was just for enthusiast.
There you
I'm
go.
A Nintendo enthusiast.
That's awesome, Pete. Pete is a Nintendo enthusiast, and I love that. But outside of that, as if you can see, if you're watching us over on twitch.tv/rap-reviews, you can see all the consoles littered behind him, type of thing, which you can kind of see on mine as well. But let's be honest here. I try. I'm 100% Microsoft Xbox fangirl. Most especially Bethesda. I know my failings. But having said all of that,
that's the thing is you've always laid those cards on the table.
I'm very self-aware.
It's the same myself as well. We've made many a joke about my Nintendo-based T-shirts and all that. But
I mean, you guys know that even though I was quite disappointed in the last update of Starfield last year, and I've lowered my expectations, I'm still very looking forward to it. Because
can we talk about that quickly?
Do you want to? Okay, I mean it's still
I do kind of want to. Because...
I was gonna say that's still part of this discussion. So yeah.
Oh my god, what happens this week?
We have a history on this show of talking about Starfield, and dadgummit, why can't Kieran be here?
Yeah, I meant more of the reaction.
Yeah. Well, what do you?
Oh dear. I'm not saying anything about the game because we didn't see anything about the damn game again.
I knew that was coming. I knew it.
More CG stuff. It's like, oh look, this screen off at the side that we're potentially showing you a couple of things. It's just going to be meant for that. No, I meant the reaction to the quote-unquote delay.
Yeah. Well, no, that's kind of what I meant. I was particularly talking about. Now, again, coming to all of you, hat in hand, I am, well, that's not the right saying, but I am a Bethesda apologist. I am a Bethesda fangirl. If they want to take till, was it September? Did they say?
September 6th.
Which is a weird date, but okay. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm fine with that. But you have to understand, this thing's been delayed, 2 years now? I think. Because it was last year, it was supposed to come out on November 11th.
11/11/22, it was supposed to be out.
Yeah.
then when they did delay it, they said it was expected.
March.
No.
Oh, I thought it was March.
Expected first half of the year.
Well, right, okay.
So.
Yeah.
But then you get a load of people like, and I'm just going to mention the name of the two YouTubers that got called out the most for this was RGT85 and Dreamcast guy for this one.
Oh, Dreamcast guy. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, where they both put, Starfield delayed again, and they got roasted for it. It was like, well, where are they wrong? It has been delayed again. Microsoft and Bethesda said it would come out in the first half of the year, and it's now in September, which counts as the second half of the year. It's been delayed again then.
Technically correct is the best kind of correct, as Futurama told us. But that is technically correct. Also, Brent says, I'm an Xboxer that also plays on the Switch occasionally. See, it's good to be open-minded, well-rounded.
I have no strong opinions one way or the other.
More Futurama. Then planet neutrals. But I'm okay with this because I want it to be the best that it can be. Partially because I want to play it, but also because the YouTuber I'm obsessed with currently, Krusty, is going to do something amazing with it. So I need it to be amazing.
Yes, well, I want to play the game, which is why it's sort of like...
I really do.
I kind of want it to come out by now, but
yeah.
I am also one of those kinds of people that is like, please just take time and just make the game good. You know, make it polished, make it interesting, you know.
Yeah.
I think at this point, if you spent long enough creating the actual game itself, just take a little bit longer to polish it, which is something that, but let's be honest, that Bethesda and ZeniMax haven't exactly had the chance to be able to do when they've been self-publishing.
Right.
So, with the weight of Microsoft now behind them and they're willing to pull the support, whether or not it was, you know, I don't know, whether or not it was pulling the support from a PS5 or PS4 version, we'll never know, I don't think.
I was gonna say.
But they've obviously looked at that and gone, let's just pull the resources into an Xbox version. Let's get it out there, but let's make sure that it's something that goes against the grain of the very typical release for Bethesda. A janky, buggy mess that requires about 5 updates to even be playable.
And that's why New Vegas stands as my favorite game to this day. Also, Pete, do you want to read what Deadbeat said?
He said, I like idiots who post pictures of their shocked face reactions being called out. Get a real job. Yeah, they're annoying.
Yes,
they're really
those
annoying.
Thumbnails, like...
Yeah, it's the worst. And to be fair, the two that I called out for that also had those kinds of thumbnails as well, and it was kind of pathetic.
I'm so over those. Like, I tend to I'm absolutely obsessed with YouTube, if you don't know. But I tend to pass over any thumbnails that has actual humans in them.
Yep. Also, the convention of my brutally honest thoughts on a game. Well, isn't that what a review should be anyway?
Yeah, exactly. Were you telling me that you weren't honest before?
Clearly not.
Yeah, but I'm okay with them.
I don't call it brutally honest reviews. I call it my reviews.
Yeah, there you go. And actually, Brent, okay, that's an interesting opinion. Yeah, you want to read that, Pete?
Okay, so I let the first delay slide with the pandemic and all, but even stretching it for me now. I agree, actually.
I think for me, again, stalwart Bethesda fangirl from days of yore, if they... How are you doing rhyming slang, Deadbeat? And you're Northern Irish. Anyway.
Also, he definitely knows how to derail something with you.
Yes,
clearly.
I need to focus. But if they did another extension after September, then they would start being with me. They would start being like, okay, this game's dead in the water. You know, we're going to Duke Nukem forever.
Yeah, if it gets delayed beyond September, then I think, it might be a little bit more on the side of, yes.
But I do wonder, though, I wonder if it has anything to do, and I don't know because I haven't looked this up. This is the tequila talking. I wonder if it has anything to do with programming for the S. You know, that came out recently.
Yeah, I know, and just I'm not 100% certain on that. I think personally, I think some of it is an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Because
and now,
I
see,
mean,
I'm now what Deadbeat just said. That's where I'm at, and that's what we were just talking about. Like, I'm 100%. P, if you want to read that, that's actually where
yeah,
I'm at.
I think as it was never dated a second time. I didn't feel like it was a real delay.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't dated,
It
but
felt,
it was stated to be first half of the 2023.
but it's weirdly to me, again, just to me, this feels more definitive than the vagueness of last year. So it doesn't
Yeah, I
feel like
agree.
a delay to me. But if it goes past December, it will feel like a delay that kind of makes me nervous, type thing.
Did you mean September?
Did I say? What did I say?
You said December.
Oh, goodness. Hello, tequila.
Fair
I
enough.
meant September.
I
Yeah.
figured as much.
But, Pete, okay, so we're going to move past Starfield, even though that's still kind of in our oeuvre of what we're talking about. Pete, take the reins, because we're going to talk about this Activision acquisition and Sony's role in it. Holy crap. I'm so angry.
Oh, I know you would be, but I think a lot of people have tended to get a little bit frustrated on this one.
Lion Jim Ryan. Oh, I'm turning into Donald Trump.
So look, I'll be honest with you. Like, a lot of what's going on here is mostly going to be a timeline of events of as
Yeah.
and when the deal was announced, and it's more of a summarization of all the events because
I have the emails.
we haven't really discussed it too much apart from news articles. So
Yeah.
I think what we said at the time is that we wanted to wait for it to more to develop.
That was our, yeah.
It was going to take time. We always knew it, so let's wait for more information.
Yeah, because people were asking, oh, when are you going to do an episode? Because, again, me being a Bethesda fangirl and, you know, Microsoft, Xbox, all this kind of stuff. And, oh, when's this? And Pete and I discussed it, and we were like, no, we're going to sit on it a bit until we get a bit more information. And then we did.
I think the thing was that we always knew that it was going to go, like, to the point where it was probably going to get the antitrust lawyers involved and stuff like that.
This is the most straightforward acquisition that has probably ever been in the history of ever. If you go back a year or 2 years ago, you'll hear me say, they're just doing it as a courtesy. It's just a blah, blah. It's going to go straight through. Because there's literally nothing in this that would ever flag an antitrust law. Until you read the emails, which I have, but we're going to start with Pete's timeline first.
Yes. Anyway, so I want you to recall your minds back, and I know it might feel like ages ago now. It's January 18th, 2022.
Oh, goodness.
Cue the Wayne's World moment.
Mm-hmm.
Where obviously the news was broke across not just gaming publications, but made it to mainstream news articles, including
Forbes.
BBC News were covering it too.
Yep, that's right.
It appeared on the BBC News coverage for the day on the 6 o'clock news, which was quite ridiculous.
It was, yeah.
So the notice of intention to purchase was leveraged by Microsoft and announced via the Xbox Wire blog for a fee of just less than $69 billion. 68.7 to be specific.
Nice.
So, obviously, first initial reactions to the news as and when you heard it, I want to know.
What specifically? That it was on?
Well, just the general idea, like just the news as it came out, and you thinking like, what was your reaction to it?
Well, like overall, again, we talked about it, you know, before. I thought it was just very straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, and I still believe, they have to get rid of the goblin. What's his face?
Yeah, we'll cover that in a bit.
Yeah, but that was my first thought. I thought, oh, this is a PR.
Kotick.
Yeah, this is definitely.
So I was annoyingly enough. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
I forgot his name there. I was like, yeah. I wanted to like get rid of it out of my mind.
Oh gosh,
I nearly did.
Yes. Yes, Scrotic.
Thank you, Deadbeat. Yeah, Bobby Scrotic.
I 100% believed at the time, and I still believe this, which is, this acquisition is 100% because Activision Blizzard was going down the toilet. It was like Overwatch 2 was nowhere on the horizon, and the PR of Blizzard and then Activision was so bad. I was like, they can't do anything but sell to Microsoft. And so it was very logical. But I thought, the wonderful Father Phil, who I love and adore to this day, I still love him. I just read these emails and I just love him more. I thought, he'll get rid of Kotick immediately. Well, come to find out, there's a clause in the contract that you can't get rid of him. I just can't stand him. I hate him. But so my initial thoughts were, this is a PR thing. It's a PR move. It's good for Microsoft. It's good for Activision, because Activision will be no more if it continues at the route that it was at. Mm-hmm. Still can't believe anything has happened the way it has. But anyway, yes, that was my initial thoughts.
So, to set the scene, I remember a couple of phones pinging off at work whilst I was there at the time, and the sudden hearing of the words "what the hell" were just ringing around at the time.
Oh goodness, yeah.
Not even amongst the gamers, amongst those who were business inclined as well, because they would get obviously they were getting notifications through major publications like BBC, like I said,
and Bloomberg, yep,
and Bloomberg and all of that. It's like, this is one of the very few times where you would see a major gaming news story break mainstream news.
Yeah, absolutely. That was stunning when that happened. I was just like, what? That's kind of cool.
So it was quite interesting that by the time that an hour after this had been announced, I'd already had 4 conversations with 4 separate people about it. And they weren't necessarily gamers.
Right.
Which was more of the interesting side for me, is how big this became. Even to the point where this became even in principle, the biggest acquisition, in terms of monetary value to date.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. Tell Musk bought Twitter. But yes.
Wrong, because that was only 44 billion. This is still more than it.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Right.
Musk bought it was around 44 billion.
Right, that's true.
So
I'm not good at math. Which is not true. I'm very good at math.
I'm going to agree with Dead Pete. Whilst the amount wasn't as big, it was as big a deal as them buying Rare.
I remember that.
Nintendo was stupid to ever let them go.
Right? That's a different show, but yes.
That is a very different show. Anyway, let's move on, because we've got a lot of cover and a lot of time. Not a lot of time.
Oh yeah, it's already
that, because we've got about a year's worth of events.
I know, right?
30 minutes. So
time machine.
This one feels like an April Fool's joke, but hey ho, April 1st, 2022.
Oh yes.
US senators raised concerns surrounding the purchase, including.
Couldn't believe it.
We have to worry about the billionaires, not the millionaires. Now Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, and Sheldon Whitehouse, and they sent a letter to the FTC, or the Federal Trade Commission, to those outside of the US, to investigate further.
And that's when I made my infamous statement of, that won't be a big deal. I'll just go right through. Yeah, this is just a formality.
Yeah.
What the heck was I thinking?
I think some people probably did think that it was just going to go through with no bother.
They've always raised concerns. I was around. Okay, so I've always been into business. I've always been a business-minded person, even since. I mean, it's probably the autism. Let's be honest here. But since I was tiny, and so I remember. Nobody else our age remembers this. When Microsoft came up with the antitrust thing, which was in the late 90s, I think. And
who were they trying to purchase at the time?
Now that bit I don't remember.
I'll try and find out while she's talking.
But yeah, because that would be interesting. I think it had something to do with telephone service, but I can't remember. But I just remember like watching this, you know, even as a teenager, being like, oh my gosh, you know, Microsoft could be, you know, completely disbanded and broken up, and it could be a company no more, and stuff like that. Like, I was obsessed with that kind of crap because I was a very nerdy child. But, and so I still had this kind of thing in that subconscious. So when this came up, for me, it was like, this is just a formality. It's not a big deal. It's happened before. Microsoft already went, you know, they went to court. They brought Microsoft up on antitrust charges. And it, you know, didn't stick. I think that was
Apparently they were trying to monopolize the personal computer market.
Maybe that was it. Because Microsoft's saying at the time, which you can see this works for Game Pass as well, which is a computer in every home. A personal computer in every home. That's a great business strategy. From a business point of view, I'm like so behind that. From a socialist point of view, that's terrible. But anyway. But having like lived through that, been a weird autistic child obsessed with that kind of stuff, as soon as Bernie Sanders did his thing, who I'm not a big fan of, but you know, whatever, I was like, it's just a formality. We're just having a repeat. It'll never stick. It'll never stick. Pete, you want to read chat? Was it contribute?
Yeah, I will read those couple of bits. So Brent put, I think Microsoft was confident it would go through too, so he was too.
Exactly.
And
100%.
he's confirmed as well. It says, yeah, they only made software up until then. Well, kind of. They were involved in some hardware, but not a lot.
It wouldn't have been much,
But they wanted to buy a manufacturer of PCs, so that's probably where that came into.
Do y'all remember the Zune? Anyway.
Funnily enough, I had a friend who was big on the Zune rather than the iPod.
Oh my gosh. I had to explain because it came up on Chuck.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, no, I was just trying to remember. Yeah, it definitely was the Zune or the Creative Zen or something like that.
Well, because I put Chuck on during work hours, my intern, who is only 18, just turned 18, there's a lot of stuff that happens in Chuck that they're like, what? Like flip phones and all this kind of stuff. And then they mentioned the Zune and they were like, what's a Zune? And I was like, oh, let me tell you. Microsoft attempted to be in the MP3 iPod game.
Look, flip phones are now making a return. I don't know
Are they really? No, I haven't.
They are.
Oh my gosh. I had a sidekick. I had a sidekick and I loved it. Sidekick is the one where the keyboard shot out. Yeah, and you could type on the keyboard. Oh, yeah. But anyway. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, let's move on.
A lot of sidetracks here.
It's another few months of basically nothing happening because this is how the deal is basically.
It really was straightforward. It was very straightforward in the beginning. Nothing weird happened at first.
Yeah. So I'm just going to briefly touch upon this one. So 24th of August, 2022. Xbox creates a website that outlines the benefits of the acquisition, highlighting its vision for gaming.
Phil Spencer, he's so amazing.
So I'm not touching on that one because that's kind of pointless. We've probably all seen the website. We all knew what was going to happen about it. But this is where things start getting interesting, obviously. And I know I apologise to everyone who's already followed most of this to the very letter because this is going to be boring as all hell. But hey ho,
we have to review it. Yeah, exactly.
So September 1st. This is where Phil Spencer starts specifically talking about Call of Duty. So he states that Call of Duty, along with other properties such as Diablo and Overwatch, will still launch day and date on other platforms, including PlayStation, as well as Game Pass.
Yep.
Well, I'm afraid to say, Phil, that was a damn lie.
Which part? Where's the lie?
Overwatch 2.
Did Overwatch 2 not go on PlayStation?
I don't think it did.
Oh, I didn't pay attention because, again, hardcore Overwatch player, attempted to play Overwatch 2, felt nothing, and then I dropped it.
I mean, it might have done, but I don't ever remember anyone ever talking about a PlayStation version of Overwatch 2.
It might not. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know because obviously I play Overwatch on PC, or I used to.
Yeah.
I sometimes play it. You'll see me kind of fiddle around on the Xbox. Sometimes I play Overwatch 2 on the Xbox. I just try it every time, thinking, okay, maybe this will be the time that it's really good. It's just not good.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
so
I
I
mean,
don't
you know
know. I
me.
don't know if it's on PlayStation.
I played. Oh, okay.
Oh,
It is
okay.
free to play. So thanks for clarifying, but Pete, I may have got the inaccuracies there. But yeah, you never saw any discussion about the other platforms. It was always
Terrible.
a free to play, and it's on Game Pass and all that
Yeah.
sort of thing. You never heard anything outside of that, really.
Well,
So
I'll be honest. I think I originally said Overwatch 2 is never coming out. You can go back, you can hear me say that
I
several
remember
times.
that.
Yeah. I really honestly believed that. And then when Overwatch 2 came out, it was such a lame duck. It just wasn't there was no reason for it to come out. I'm not sure why they released it. I'm sure it has something to do with this acquisition, probably to show that it could go on PlayStation as well, you know. Um
Probably.
it's not a good game. I'm sorry. It's not. It is nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing new. It
Okay.
brings nothing new to the table. But I
Yep.
think it was a strategic, if I'm honest, I think it was a strategic move on their part to show, oh, we can release stuff that's on PlayStation as well. You know.
Probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, so week later, so 7th of September. This is where the fighting starts.
Oh goodness, yes.
And we like the fight. So Jim Ryan finally decides to weigh in on this.
Get my emails pulled up.
Nobody really cared what he thought anyway. It's Lion Ryan, but
Lion Ryan.
as head of PlayStation Studios, I guess he has to weigh in on it somehow. So he weighs in on the acquisition, stating that Xbox promise of Call of Duty coming to PlayStation is inadequate on many levels, which is a quote, by the way. So he was commenting to GamesIndustry.biz, and I quote, "After almost 20 years of Call of Duty on PlayStation, their proposal was inaccurate or inadequate on many levels and failed to take account of the impact of on our gamers." And that was in regards to the promise of the 3 years after the purchase. Do I want to read this?
Yes, you do. It's perfect.
Okay. Deadbeat Punk has put Phil's fist and Jim's arse were getting married.
Yes, it's true. I have Jim's emails here to add to that, Pete, when you're ready.
Please do. Go
Oh,
on.
okay. Oh my gosh. These only recently came to light, but these are the emails that were out at the time. Well, not out. They were being sent at the time.
What is this because of the fact that this is now in?
It's now
the
open
court?
records. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? FOI, Freedom of Information Act?
Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah. So, Jim Ryan said back in February, in a closed door meeting.
What, 2022?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, 2022. Yes. Back in February, when meeting with EU antitrust chief Margaret Vestager, I don't know how to say that, in Brussels. It's not clear what the meeting entailed, but in his words, Jim Ryan's words, Lion Jim Ryan, "I don't want a new Call of Duty deal. I just want to block your merger." That was said in the arbitration meeting, which is
Okay.
absolutely insane. And then it goes on to say, I'm sorry. This makes me so angry, Pete. I'm trying not to be angry. Microsoft might release a PlayStation version of Call of Duty where bugs and errors emerge only when the game's final level or after later updates. Even if such degradations could be swiftly detected, any remedy would likely come too late, by which time the gaming community would have lost confidence in PlayStation as a go-to venue to play Call of Duty. Indeed, as Modern Warfare 2 attests, Call of Duty is most often purchased in just the first few weeks of release. If it became known that the game's performance on PlayStation was worse than on Xbox, Call of Duty gamers could decide to switch to Xbox for fear of playing their favorite game at a second-class or less competitive venue. That is such dirty, underhanded whatever.
Yeah. Yes, there is, because
Tactics.
I'm gonna bring this up, coming from Tweaktown, which
Mm-hmm.
is written by Derek Strickland. He's a decent enough
Yeah, I recognize
reporter.
that
I've
name.
seen him. I
Mm-hmm.
follow him on Twitter actually. He's decent
Okay,
enough.
yeah,
So
I
he's
recognize that name.
actually written an article that came out on December 24th. Actually, it's been updated several times since then. But the top 6 first-party PlayStation franchises
Mm-hmm.
by numbers. So this is the thing that obviously Lion Ryan decides that is a big problem, because take away Call of Duty and PlayStation doesn't sell anything. Well, to say the Horizon series and the Forbidden West numbers were not reported as of the time was
Uh-huh.
20 plus million copies, and that's just for
They kept that
Zero
secret.
Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
The God of War reboot series, 28.1 million, and that's as of November 2022, so barely even taking into account Ragnarok's 10
Yeah.
plus million sales since then.
Kept
Um,
intentionally a secret, by the way, for our audience.
Sorry?
They kept that intentionally a secret from the public. You know, they couldn't keep it secret
Yes,
behind
they
closed
did.
doors. But
And then The Last of Us, including 1 and 2, that's not even, and this is as of June 2022 as well.
so the
So not
remake is
including
in...
Last
Oh, okay.
of Us 1 remake.
Right.
So
Okay.
not even including the PC sales either. 30 million. Spider-Man, including 2018 and Miles Morales as of June 2022, 33 million. Uncharted series, 41 million. And the top, I
This
would
makes
say
me
this might be
angry.
surprising to some.
Mm-hmm.
What do you reckon?
The top one. Wow, I don't actually know, because I would have put Spider-Man at the top
Okay. Think long-running franchise.
on Sony.
Yeah.
Sackboy.
Nope.
What?
Gran Turismo.
Oh, wow. Of course. I used to be a Sony fangirl, for those who don't know. I switched
Yep.
allegiance, at 3.
Okay.
And Gran Turismo was I loved Gran Turismo. Loved
Sure.
it. I
So
loved
as
cars.
of December 2022, 90 million copies of Gran Turismo series.
I just want to say, and I have said this on previous episodes, and I stand by this. When all of this stuff was going on, and with those numbers in mind, here's the difference between Phil Spencer and Lion Jim Ryan. And yeah, I know, I'm projecting and calling him Lion Jim Ryan. Phil
Yeah, I know.
Spencer was like, Sony doesn't need us. Sony is amazing. Sony is beautiful. Sony
Stop.
is great.
Stop.
What?
Because I want to stop you there, because it brings up my next point.
Okay, yes, you go ahead.
So let me just hit into this with this quote. So the 12th of October, so we're jumping ahead by about a month here.
Right.
The Competition and Markets Authority, also known as the CMA in the UK,
Right.
voices its concerns about the deal.
The first warning shot across the bow where I was like, uh-oh, something's going on.
Yeah, so Microsoft and Xbox as a whole decided to make a statement regarding this, and this is why I stopped you here, because the quote reads,
This is it, yes.
The suggestion that the incumbent market leader with clear and enduring market power could be foreclosed by the third largest provider as a result of losing access to one title is not credible.
Yep. It's true. Like, they're not wrong. This is just facts. Which...
Yeah, as proven by the numbers that I've just showed you there.
Exactly. Like, do you think it was easy for Microsoft to come out and say, well, 2 things, which this might be interfering with Pete's timeline, but 2 things. Sony sells better than us, and 2, we don't make any money off of Game Pass. Do you think that was easy? That's not very easy at all. You had to publicly say that.
No, because it undercuts basically their entire business.
Yeah.
Game Pass does not make money, so why are people going to take money from Microsoft as a result if it doesn't make money?
Right.
It's a weird one.
It's not a great look.
No,
for the public, not for the behind the closed doors.
Of course, and then the fact that Microsoft and Xbox as a whole have said that they're the third largest provider.
Right, exactly, and that was very convenient.
They've obviously stalled ground behind Nintendo then, and everyone, but yet the gaming industry as a whole, and it's proven by the fact that obviously even the CMA and the FTC have basically kind of discounted Nintendo across this entire whole thing.
They
And
have.
it's just the big two, as according to them. And it's weird because everyone always goes Microsoft and Sony.
And
But
also,
Nintendo are never usually in that equation, yet the Switch has sold well over 110 million units.
well, it's like, and then we'll get to Brent's comments because they do apply to
Mhm.
this.
Yes, they
But
do.
it's like people. How do I phrase this? Phil Spencer is incredibly intelligent. Well, let me say his team is incredibly intelligent. He's a mouthpiece. I love him, but he's a mouthpiece for a team that's behind him. So I don't know. I hit my elbow. But in the background behind all of this, Microsoft was still going ahead. Again, let me pause here and say we did an episode on this called Redacted for Privilege, where we read the emails from Epic, where we discovered that Microsoft had a deal with Nintendo. We now know what that deal is, which is the cloud gaming Azure. Is that how you say it?
I will get to that in a bit as well.
So I won't harp too much on that because that's coming up. But it goes to show you, Microsoft has never discounted Nintendo as a player in this. Sony
Never.
has discounted it from day one.
Well, yeah, and sorry, just to sort
No,
of
you go
cut
ahead.
in there because
Yeah,
it's
you go ahead.
it's also proven the fact that when it came to be the situation a couple of years ago, and I'm going to mention this because most gamers' minds don't tend to remember about a few years ago, let alone 5 minutes ago. Remember the whole crossplay incident?
Yes.
Who was the one that had the most kickback on it, and who was the one who was refusing? The one who were pretty much archaic in terms of online. No, that's Nintendo. Oh wait, it was PlayStation and Sony and Jim Ryan.
I was gonna say, we read the emails out loud for anyone that's interested. Sony did not want crossplay. They were stubborn about it. Especially with Fortnite is our, because we were specifically talking about Epic at the time. They were so adamant against crossplay. I don't know what Jim Ryan is thinking. I never know what he's thinking. He doesn't think like a businessman. So he thinks like a narcissist, I think. I don't know. You're not supposed to say that about people. But I cannot figure out what his train of thought is, where he's going with this, because all he's done is try and keep PlayStation in this bubble. PlayStation is not going to be able to survive in a bubble as we're going forward with all of these new technologies. First of all, we've said this before. The technology that's in the PlayStation is built by Microsoft. The cloud gaming that everything is going to is Azure. I think that's how you say that.
Azure.
Yeah. Which is a Microsoft product. Why Jim wants an outward-facing appearance of Sony being in this, this bubble, I'm not sure why. He doesn't play well with others. And I think it's to the detriment of Sony. And I'm surprised that the powers that be at Sony, specifically Sony America, but I mean all of Sony, have let him continue this route. I'm very confused by this. I am. Pete, do you want to read the comment?
Yes, I will. I was actually trying to find an image for something
that
kind of was going to help with that. Can't find it. But I remember a certain image from a fair few years ago when someone from PlayStation Studios was still involved.
Oh, goodness.
Not Jim Ryan. Do you happen to remember that moment with unified gamers across the world at the Game Awards a few years ago when Sean Layden, Phil Spencer, and Reggie Fils-Aimé all appeared together on stage
was so
to talk
cool.
about the greatness of games?
Oh, that was a very cool moment. I thought we were going to go forward from that moment We
We've
did
only
not.
gone backwards.
We've only gone backwards in so
Okay,
many
let me
things.
just get these comments, and then so Brent put, I think they focus too much on Call of Duty without considering the existence of Battlefield, Fortnite, and other I guess that's supposed to be free to play
Yeah.
shooters, or like Apex Legends or Splitgate.
Mm-hmm.
Either PlayStation admits that they would go bankrupt without Call of Duty, or they are so short-sighted that they can't believe a shooter can become more popular than Call of Duty, like Fortnite.
I mean, and then Phil Spencer counters with, you won't go bankrupt without Call of Duty, but also we're not taking Call of Duty away from you.
No.
And then Jim, yeah, well, okay, and then I was like, and then Jim countering with, oh, Microsoft might release it buggy. First of all, let me just say this, because that made me so angry. Two things. One, if Microsoft was to intentionally release a Sony version of Call of Duty that was buggy, they could be brought up on ethics charges, because the U.S. does have ethics in business charges.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
Isn't it something to do with unfair practices?
It's unfair practices, yes.
You know, shipping. It's about shipping like an unfinished product.
Yeah, we don't have much consumer protection, sadly, but we do have some, especially against the bigger stuff. That would be a liability to them. And then number two, that's so low. Why would they do that? Why would Microsoft ruin their PR image to release that would be like me. I'm a printer, for those that don't know. That would be like me printing very bad quality shirts and then shipping them to, I don't know, a local football team. And that would reflect on me, not the football team. Do you understand? Why would I ever do that to myself? Microsoft wouldn't do that to themselves. That doesn't make sense. There's no logic in that.
Yeah. And you also have to consider as well is that Microsoft have been pulling up their reputation ever since the disastrous launch of the Xbox One in 2013.
Oh, yeah.
That any incidents of them releasing shoddy products, even to the point of a Starfield delay, has pretty much hit them hard. So people are looking for reasons to go back against Microsoft again. But Phil Spencer is doing his best to obviously try and make Xbox and Microsoft as a whole that beacon as such in the gaming division, to show that they are learning their lesson, they're making changes, and they're trying to think about gamers with the gamers in mind. They kind of have started doing that a lot more. The Xbox One X sort of helped with that.
Oh, that's huge.
The Series X and the S launch hasn't exactly been swimming, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So they're taking a bit of a reputational hit recently, and with
and no.
Halo Infinite and the lack of major first party exclusives in 2022 as well. So all of this is just all stuff that's just, it's not really helping Microsoft as such.
Pete makes a very good point, that I also want to express, that when Xbone came out, for those who don't remember and who's too young to remember, because Pete and I are very old. In gaming years, I guess we are.
I remember watching that initial reveal, and I went, what the hell is this?
100%. When they said, they sealed their fate when they said it has to be always on. Do you know who stepped up? So,
Big Phil.
Yeah, exactly. Thank freaking goodness. I mean, we already had to mess around with, was it PlayStation 4 that had to be always on? No, it wasn't.
PlayStation 4, PS4, actually, it was that at that E3 in 2013
they countered
where
it.
They took the shots at
that's right.
Microsoft about
they
that.
Flipped the narrative. That was it. PlayStation came, because I had switched my loyalties from PlayStation to Xbox, because Xbox 360 blew my mind. I'm sorry, at the time it did. It
It
was
did
an
with me as
amazing.
well.
It
Like
was an amazing
I didn't get a
console.
PS3 before. I didn't get a PS3 before 360. I went straight
I
for
went
360.
360 first and then PS3 afterwards. Yes, and even to this day, I would play the 360 over the PS3. Although the PS3 is a good machine, I'm not saying that it isn't. Had a
Third-party
shaky
games
launch.
Third-party games ran better on the early days of the 360. But it got
Yes.
better on the PS3 as it went on.
Yeah, PS3 did eventually come up, But the point is, when that Xbone E3 thing happened, like, PlayStation flipped it. Well, I should say Sony, but PlayStation.
Yeah.
They flipped it on its head, and they were like, you don't have to always be on. They saw the gap in the market, and they filled it. Then Phil Spencer comes in for Xbox, and he turns everything around. But there was a point when the PS4 came out where Sony was the, quote, good guys. You shouldn't do good versus bad guys in console wars.
No, but that's how it was at the time.
But it did. It really did, because it took all of us, like, we were like, always on. What? You can't, that's not fair, because, like, even me, I was in East Texas at the time of that E3. I moved shortly after that. My internet connection was so shoddy and so bad. Like, I would not be able to be always on. I could barely stream, South Park on Netflix at the time without it hiccuping. So I knew that, like, my video game experience was going to be bad. Of course, I moved here, and that's when I got the Xbone. But the point being that Sony took that opportunity, and I think that was that before Jim Ryan? That was before, wasn't it? I think so.
Yes,
I
that
think
was still
so. He
when
came
Sean
in.
Layden was still in.
Yes, it was, because again they did the Gaming Awards that year, the following one.
Yeah.
That was such a great year. 2018 was a great year in gaming. But the point being that PlayStation they put Jim Ryan in, and we went from this, kind of like they spun the narrative around to, we don't have to be always on. We're on for the little guy. We're there, blah, blah, blah. To what the heck is happening now? Jim Ryan saying, oh, what if Microsoft ships a lesser product to us? That is something that a CEO actually said in an arbitration meeting. That's not a joke.
Oh, no.
And I'm absolutely floored by that. Absolutely floored.
Indeed. Anyway, let's move back to the timeline, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Because things will start getting a bit more spicy.
Oh, I'm already hot, Pete. I'm like, oh.
I know. So, we fast forward to Halloween of 2022.
Yes.
And it's not spooky. Although Phil Spencer's choice of podcast to go on was a little spooky at the time.
That was interesting, yes.
Called the Same Brain Podcast.
Yeah, I was like, Pete, maybe we should try. Remember that? I was like, Pete, you should reach out and see if we can get
I remember.
Spencer on ours.
I didn't remember to even message. So he goes on the Same Brain Podcast and said, so long as there is a PlayStation to ship to, Xbox will ship Call of Duty to Sony consoles.
Yes.
So I'm also
that.
then going to state that 11 or 12 days later, on the 11th of November, it was reported by the New York Times that Microsoft offered a deal to Sony to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for a further 7 years beyond the current 3 years that they were offering. So
I remember
to
that.
take it to that 10 years, as well as just briefly talking, with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty to their platforms.
Yep. I remember that very well.
They were reiterating their pledge to state that they will bring Call of Duty to every platform. They would not have any exclusivity reasons behind it. There might be some Activision Blizzard games that would go, but Call of Duty would not be one of them.
Yeah.
Which is obviously the whole crux of the issue. We all knew what the crux of the issue was always going to be, because it was the thing that was mentioned the very first once the deal was made. Is how do you turn Call of Duty exclusive?
Well, it's like they knew, like, it was quite transparent. You could see straight through it what Microsoft was doing. But it wasn't wrong. You know, they needed to do this. It's almost performative, like to say, oh, Call of Duty has, 7 years, or what we promised that. It was performant. Like, they didn't need to do that, but they had to do it for the CMA. Which is quite...
I don't even think they just had to do it for the CMA. I
Really?
think, had they not done it, I think a lot of gamers would have probably lost faith in them too.
I hadn't thought of that aspect, Pete, but you're right. I hadn't thought of that. I was being a little bit more cynical and thinking it was strictly performative for the CMA, but you're right. They did have also to show faith, for their audience, which is us, the gamers.
Yeah, I think the thing is that because it's specifically a franchise that they have not created themselves, that if they were to rip it away and sort of go, this is an exclusive thing from now on, you're not going to have it on PlayStation, you're not going to have it on Nintendo, you're not going to have it elsewhere, then the amount of backlash that they would have got would have been catastrophic for them, I think.
I think so.
It's all well and good then buying Activision Blizzard for $69 billion, but if they don't get those 500 million sales that you usually get for Call of Duty across all platforms, then it's seen as a failure.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this, and yeah, I know this is going to get some pushback from our audience. With the latest iterations of Call of Duty, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything about that at all.
I don't get it. Like, it's not that great. It's okay. But as a person who is a FPS, multiplayer lover, it's not that great. I don't get it.
Okay, so I'll bring this up because I was sat in the pub on Friday night.
Yes, you were.
With a couple of my boys, the old lot that I used to work with, and one of them happened to mention, was like, oh, why haven't we jumped on Warzone 2 at any point recently? And my words were, because it sucks.
It does. I'm sorry.
And he's a staunch Call of Duty player, and he went, yeah, you're right, we should just go back to Warzone 1. I'm like,
exactly.
Probably.
I mean, that's the thing. Warzone was awesome.
It was okay.
I still think there's some better ones. Now, let's be honest, I'm going to be very, lay my cards on the table. Battlefield is my, that's where I am at. So I'm always going to kind of, I'm just being honest here. But, I mean, and Modern Warfare was great. This one, like, don't get me wrong, it's okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's anything inherently wrong with it.
Right.
It plays, it's not overly buggy or anything like that.
No, it's fine.
The meta game and the general sort of rules to it that they've changed between 1 and 2 just haven't gone down well with some people.
Yeah, and I didn't like some of the maps that they included. I of course can't speak for all FPS players, but for me they didn't, again, maybe if I had a squad it would change, but I'm not seeing anything about this particular iteration that PlayStation, specifically Jim Ryan, is just like, I want to hold on to it. You know what I mean? I don't know what the sales are like, but I'm not getting it. I'm just not getting it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to move on. So, 8th of December, 2022. So we're getting close to Christmas, but the fighting still continues. Give it a rest. Anyway, so the FTC, or the Federal Trade Commission.
Oh, yes, I remember this.
This is where they finally leveraged their papers to sue Microsoft to block the purchase. So this is a weird one. We all went, why are they suing them? No, this is just normal practice, isn't it? It's basically to try and block the deal.
It is. I believe I said at the time, on one hand, it's normal, but on the other hand, it's not normal. Which is weird, I know, but it's not out of the norm to do it, but there was no reason to do it. Put it that way.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah.
All right, so they sued Microsoft to block the purchase with their press release stating that Xbox could, and I quote, harm competition in high-performance gaming consoles and subscription services by denying or degrading rivals' access to its popular content. where they cited the purchase of ZeniMax.
Yes. Which had me on alert because I love ZeniMax.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that was interesting. But then,
Mm-hmm.
4 days later, Phil Spencer decides to do the rounds on the podcast trips again, this time coming to his second request, which is weird. So, makes an appearance on a second podcast, which is called Second Request, stating that PlayStation wants to, and I quote, protect their dominance by making Xbox smaller.
And wasn't around this time that PlayStation did a PlayStation Direct, and it was so lackluster. Like, they didn't even put any heart into it. They didn't put any announcements into it. They were like,
I don't think it was around the December time. I think.
Are you sure?
It was. It was.
Was it January?
Might be incorrect. I don't remember.
It was not long after that. If it might have been January because we're in March now.
We've had one in February, which there wasn't a lot to that one. If I'm honest.
Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of, but I did think it was earlier in the year. But yeah,
they did have one a little bit earlier on in the year that I thought was quite solid, but I think that was in like June time.
Yeah,
maybe
that's right.
Because
I remember you saying it, and me and Kieran looking at you like, because we're Xbox fan people.
Oh, I know. But we're like, for me, it was decent because they showed some pretty decent games. They showed off a lot about Street Fighter 6. They showed
right. Oh, that's right.
They showed off Stray properly as well, and said that it was coming to their new subscription service. So I thought it was a strong showing, actually, to some degree.
That's also a good episode to go watch. I don't remember what episode that is. I think it's one of Kieran's last ones.
I think it might have been, but yeah me trying to defend Sony, a Sony state of play.
Kieran was like,
and
I was like,
two Xbox fans, and I specifically remember what I said as well. I said it was one of the best state of plays I've seen, and you were like, "Yeah, right."
And I was just like, looking around, but Kieran was all right. He was like full on.
I know.
It is one of our funniest videos. For our poor audio audience, you can't hear what I'm doing, but our literal facial expressions
and the scowling.
The scowling faces from our Xbot lovers, and Pete saying, "Oh, this was the best Sony PlayStation."
Anyway, so Brent's chimed in with a couple of comments. He says it's probably more about the cut PS, the cut PS gets from microtransactions in COD, and not really about the quality of the recent COD. That is a fair point. Yeah, because they'll get 30% of all purchases made on their storefront.
Ugh, I hate microtransactions. They are not
maybe that's the solution. Should Microsoft offer bigger cuts of Call of Duty microtransactions on other platforms to appease them? I don't think they should. But if I guess that might be part of the deal. They go, if you're buying microtransactions through their storefront, then yeah, you'll still get your 30%. But where do you think the other 70% is going? It's going straight to Microsoft.
That's a very good point. It's not going
to Activision Blizzard anymore.
Yeah, I hadn't actually thought of that. That's a very good point. I'm sure it's been explored, but...
yeah, they can't take away the 30% from storefronts. There's no way, because that would be impossible.
Yeah.
So, and obviously that was part of the reason why Epic and Apple had that big thing. Go listen to Redacted Privilege for that one.
It's really good. And that's also why Elon Musk is charging £11 in the Apple Store.
Because of the 30%.
Blue check, yeah. It's blue, right? Yeah, it's blue check.
Yeah, Twitter Blue. They should probably have renamed that Twitter Blue Balls.
Ah!
Anyway, so we're going to move into this year. So this is
here we go.
Wow, okay, we've rattled through. So, 5th of January is starting the year strong. The CMA decides to extend its investigation into the acquisition by 8 weeks. Citing that the complexity of the case requires further investigation and the amount of evidence collected. So they set a new deadline of 26th of April instead of the original date of March 1st. So we're still within that period.
I'm not going to lie. What I'm going to say is devious. But it did cross my mind because this is so out of the norm. Remember, I can't talk about it a lot, but I'm in business acquisitions specifically. It did cross my mind. Has there been some, nefarious under the table greasing of palms? Because this is not normal. What we're going through now, what Pete has reached now in the timeline, is not normal.
No, agreed. We don't see this very frequently when it comes to purchases. And if I'm honest, I thought that not the Activision Blizzard, the ZeniMax and Bethesda purchase might have raised more eyebrows than it did.
Exactly.
But it didn't.
100%. It did not. That's why, if you go all the way back to January of last year, I said, this is just a formality. Because of all acquisitions, Bethesda, with its long-reaching franchises, should have raised more questions, and it didn't bat an eye. I mean, they did the typical, inquiries, but nothing to this extent. And I'm absolutely, to this day, stunned that we're sitting here still talking about this. Ow, I hit my knuckles. But I cannot believe this. I'm still in shock over this timeline.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, the deadline being extended probably wasn't the biggest surprise to me, because of I always thought this was probably likely, because, like I said, with the complexity of this, there is a lot to mull over. And I think, whilst I had probably more eyebrows raised about the Bethesda and ZeniMax deal because of how much they had, obviously that's not discounting the fact that Activision Blizzard is huge.
That's what she said.
I don't know. For some reason, I just think that the price of this one alone probably is the stumbling block. And obviously we all know that the reason why it's probably the amount that it is because of the incredibly large share value that it had at the time.
At the time, but let's be honest. I mean, between Kosick and Overwatch's performance, and let's be honest. So, one of my, I'm just going to call them a flatmate because I don't know how else to refer to them, is a huge WoW, or was a huge WoW player, has completely dropped off. Now, has played WoW since its inception online. So, we're not talking about a casual by any means. Has completely dropped off because there's just nothing there. So,
I agree. Yeah,
the value of Activision Blizzard has been devalued so much. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm absolutely stunned at this. It cannot be, but it apparently is, purely Call of Duty that Sony is hung up on.
Yeah.
And even that, I'm just like, Call of Duty is not, it's not sustainable in its current form. It's just not. We've got a lot of chat, if you want.
I've read through most of them anyway. We just had another one come in, but I'll talk about that in a minute anyway. So, now I'm just going to put a bold prediction out here. I know we're not doing predictions for anything.
Nah, do it anyway.
Because you've mentioned it, I'll do it. I think once the deal's done and the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, day one, once it's been announced, you'll see Phil Spencer and a few others from Activision Blizzard do that sort of roundtable thing that they did with Bethesda and like Pete Hines and all that.
Oh, yes, I remember that. Yes.
World of Warcraft subscription will be included within Game Pass on day one.
No, that would be
so you won't have to pay a subscription fee anymore. It will just be included.
That, to be fair, I'm going to be very perfectly honest, Pete. To quote unquote save World of Warcraft, that would be an excellent play because
I think it's the only way they can save it at the moment because the content's dried up for them.
It has. Like, WoW is one of the original. I mean, it's an MMO RPG, but it's like the original live service game, and they kept it going for so long because Blizzard can produce high quality stuff. I don't know what happened with Overwatch 2. But because they can produce
laziness.
Something for sure. Their last expansion, still good in the general population, but not Blizzard quality.
Yeah.
And to see the people drop off on that, like my flatmate still plays Diablo, but it's just like, it's you can see it. This is a hardcore person who like lives for that, and it's just dropping off. It is 100%.
It has, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, let's move forward.
Okay.
Because I think this one is probably the biggest shot of the whole thing. I love this quote, by the way.
Okay.
So, 30th of January 2023. This is where Activision Blizzard finally decide to start weighing into this deal.
Oh gosh, yes, I know exactly where you're going.
So the CCO, Lulu Cheng Masavo,
sure, go for it.
States that Sony and HBO's The Last of Us TV series success shows that Sony's opposition of the merger is, quote unquote, baseless.
That was pretty good.
And the quote is, Sony has an unrivaled sorry, I was having a moment there. I was like, what the hell was that? It's an unrivaled war chest of IP, not just in gaming, but TV, movies, and music, which can be developed into games and can market existing games. It's no wonder they continue to dominate as the market leader for consoles. In gaming, Sony is the first of us. They will be just fine without the FTC's protection.
That is a perfect example of what Microsoft has done from the beginning. They've highlighted the successes of Sony PlayStation. Now, if you go on Twitter and you look in the comment section, which I obsessively do, you will see Sony ponies just pooping all over Microsoft. And yet Microsoft has consistently, gone high, talked about the success of Sony. And I don't care whatever ends up, in the final whatever. I love that. I just love that. I love fighting fire with not so much fire, but like bumping your ego. Like, you're doing great. You're doing great,
okay,
Sony.
so it's like working in retail and having someone screaming in your face and you're smiling at them going, "Thank you, sir. Can I have another one, sir?" "Yes, please." And they get more and more and more frustrated and annoyed until they just walk away.
Pete, you'll not hear me quote the Bible very often on here. And you're thinking, where the frick is she going with this? But I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. If you view the Bible as purely a philosophical book, there is a passage where it says that being kind to your enemies is like heaping coals on their head. When I was in school and I had to deal with a lot of bullies, like most of us out there, I'm a huge nerd. So, of course, obviously, I was a target for bullies. I'm 6 foot tall female. Oh, yeah. I found being nice to them pissed them way off more than engaging them in a fight or a confrontation. And this is exactly...
They want the reaction.
They want the... That's Pete's exactly right. And so, Xbox, Microsoft, Phil, not just Phil, but all of them, they're rising above. They're fighting with kindness. And I love that. That has made me into more of an Xbox fangirl. I'm not going to lie. And
That's
then,
fair.
Yeah, and then like I said, but you do see the comments, and the Sony ponies are just they're angry, they're vitriolic, they're spitting fire, and it's like, why are you doing this when Microsoft is saying that you guys are great?
Yep.
Right.
Let me okay, so let me just shotgun these last couple of points. I'll do 2 more, and then we've got one last major point before we close it out. So, from the 3rd of February, the European Union decides to issue antitrust warnings to Microsoft, stating that, and this was written in Politico, they could be incentivized to keep Call of Duty away from rival consoles. Microsoft then state that it is listening carefully to the European Commission's concerns and are confident that we can address them. So then, as of the 8th of February, the CMA publishes a provisional report of the investigation, where it states the concerns of Microsoft raising prices of games fewer choices and less innovation for gamers. Additionally, the CMA states that cloud gaming was a huge concern, with Microsoft accounting for 60 to 70% of the current cloud offering, and that Call of Duty being exclusive could alter the future of gaming. Now, this is where actually I'm going to have to agree with the CMA. Because
really? Oh my gosh. Okay.
100%.
Okay. Go for it.
So, now, my concern, obviously, with the cloud gaming side of things is how many other cloud gaming distributors do you happen to hear about? And there is...
Well, exactly.
I can only count one.
I was gonna... Now, I do agree with you, but for me, that's a positive. But for you,
No,
you're
because
seeing it as...
but that's where the problem is. It could be seen as anti-competitive. That's where the crux of the issue lies, is that they are the market leader technically in cloud gaming, even though their cloud gaming platform isn't exactly very good.
That's where Microsoft needs to say, get good, scrub. But...
I disagree, because if you turn around and say things like that, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But still. Now, okay. So
they
put it
100%
on this
are.
hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, whilst it's still in a beta form at the moment,
Right.
like Xbox Cloud or whatever have decided,
whatever
to
it's going to end up being called,
doesn't necessarily work particularly well. But we all know that cloud gaming is a little bit of a funky one at the moment.
Yeah, it's unstable, 100%.
We've seen Stadia obviously come and go.
Although, again, as I predicted, let's just say this again, the hardware may go, but you're right, Google is keeping their streaming service, their version of the cloud. Yes, and I do think they will be competitive in the future. I'm not sure they're ready now, but in the future.
Yeah, Amazon Luna has basically gone completely defunct.
Yes, 100%.
Or not, I would say not defunct, but they're not in the mind's eye, let's
say. They're not on the radar just yet. Yeah.
And let's be honest, Nintendo's offering into cloud gaming isn't exactly fantastic either.
Right, and I think Nvidia had a chance.
There you are.
But
you've hit the one company that actually is the one company that's doing it right.
I think, though, now, this is just one of my crazy predictions that do sometimes come true, by the way. I think Nvidia will sell out to Microsoft because, they've got a partnership right now. You don't think they will?
No.
Interesting.
I can see one other way going.
Okay.
Because that will lead me to another point of this timeline. We'll get to that in a moment.
Excellent.
But you've said about one particular company keeping their infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
What's to say that Google don't sell their tech to Microsoft?
They could. I mean, let's be honest here. Okay. Now, this is going off the rails, but follow me here. So, Microsoft has Bing. Google has, obviously, Google. Microsoft has just purchased ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. Which, for our listeners who should know, but if you don't know, that's the AI, the kind of new AI. AI has been around for years, but it's the kind of newest iteration of it.
Yeah.
Google has been rumored to be getting into business bed, with Microsoft over this ChatGPT.
Not surprised.
Although Google has developed their own AI, it doesn't seem to be as far along as ChatGPT.
No, ChatGPT seems to be the one that's making the most headroads, and it's the one that people seem to be using the most at the moment.
It seems to be the user friendliness of it, because it's kind of open software type of thing, which, if you don't remember, because no one else is a nerd like I am, Google's AI came into the forefront last year because one of the workers said that their Google AI was fighting them.
Yeah, I remember
If you remember that, I did a whole thing on that. But anyway, not my point. But my point is, it is not out of the realm of possibility that Google and Microsoft will have some kind of... I'm not going to say it's never going to be... Well, I can't say never. I'm not talking about merger, but kind of like shared resources. Yeah, exactly. In the future. But I've stated that. I've stated that many times. The Stadia gaming, I 100% see Microsoft eyeing it up and down.
Mm.
If that happens, I do think that the Microsoft cloud gaming is going to be better than it is. It's not great now. It's just not. Let's be honest.
No, but that was the good thing about Stadia is like for all its
It's
flaws, it did work
right. Yeah,
quite well.
which I've stated since day one that that's exactly what was going to happen, and I stand by that. So I think in the future that could be a kind of
Yeah.
cause for monopoly alarm.
Yeah, that's
You know.
like I said, that's where the concern was.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's where the CMA obviously made their concern,
Yeah, but they
even to the
haven't.
point
Mm-hmm.
where on February
Here we
21st,
go.
2023,
Uh-huh.
Microsoft President Brad Smith announces that Microsoft has signed a binding 10-year deal, 10-year
Yes.
in contract in principle
Yeah.
with both
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo and Nvidia to bring Call of Duty day and date, content complete, and the same day as Xbox. And it is predicated on the completion of the acquisition. It says, with the deal signed, it alleviates a big concern that Nvidia had with the acquisition.
See, there you go.
And that is now one less tech platform
Mm-hmm.
opposing the deal.
Yep. Pete just
Because they have completely withdrew their concerns.
exactly. Now, Pete, I want to ask you, even though you're not a Nintendo fanboy, a Nintendo defender, I am curious. Now, I know that we talked about this ourselves, but for the show, how do you feel about that overall?
Um, It'd be nice to see Call of Duty on a Nintendo platform for the first time since the Wii U.
Yeah,
Be quite nice, I guess.
it was terrible on the Wii U.
I know it
It was
was, but
bad.
how like most things were, most
Mm-hmm.
third-party games on the Wii U weren't exactly great. They weren't pulling
Yeah.
up trees. Um, to have Call of Duty in more places, with more people and a lot more of variety of choice with players is never a bad thing. Never usually a bad thing. Now, my concern is what was stated in the actual press release itself.
Ooh, what's that?
Is it even coming to the Switch?
Yes. So, what are your thoughts on that, Pete?
It's not. And if it is, if it comes to the Switch, it's coming as a cloud version.
It would
And
be
oh
100%.
boy, cloud version for a Twitch shooter. Ooh, bad idea.
Yeah. I'm going to 100% agree with you there. It would absolutely be the cloud version. The lag on that, can you imagine?
Oh, it'd be awful. I reckon it'll probably like whilst they state content complete and all that, they'd have to do something to do with it. So my potential thought behind that one is they would have to sign a deal with Microsoft between Microsoft, Activision, and Nintendo for Microsoft to foot the bill for the wait for it because there's a lot of things that could cause a stumbling block.
Uh-huh.
Where Microsoft foots the bill for Nintendo to produce Call of Duty, so kind of self-published in some
Would have
respects,
to be, yes, right, okay.
on a 32 gigabyte Switch cartridge rather than the standard 16.
Oh my gosh. But that
But that means then they're not going to fit everything on the cartridge.
exactly.
So they're going to have to split it. If they
It
wanted
would have to
content
be
complete, they would have
hybrid.
to split it.
It would have to be a
So,
hybrid, absolutely. Which isn't
campaign,
impossible. That's not impossible.
okay, campaign cloud only, multiplayer on the cartridge.
Oh, you think? See, now I would have reversed it.
Wrong.
Right, okay.
Why would you have the cloud version of the online when it would require latency?
You're right. You're right. I mean, that is true. I would think that it would be capable of handling more players. But you're right, the latency would be awful. It would be awful. Like,
It would
that's
be terrible.
the
There's
very
no
first
way that they
thought.
could get it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
But
gosh.
that's not to state that I don't. That's a hypothetical. I really don't think that Switch is getting it. I think this is solely stated for the next generation of Nintendo's platform.
Which we definitely need to do a show on in the future because
Well, if it's anything to be believed, when there was a couple of job listings a couple of years ago, the next console could have DLSS on it.
we need to do a show. I'm going to say this now. We need to do a show on next gen because you know the PlayStation 6 has been rumored.
2027.
Mm-hmm. It looks
Yeah,
awful.
I don't believe that for a hot minute.
Did you see the prototype?
No, but
Looks like
if
a
you saw my
Cylon.
message that was in the Discord when that came up, where I said this generation hasn't even started yet.
I know. That's the whole thing. I don't feel that either out of the three major consoles, I feel that the Switch is the only one who has come out strong during the pandemic, and they need to, now move to their next iteration, their next level. But as far as the Xbox and the PlayStation have gone, I don't even feel like they've been established yet. Like, I still can't even get a PlayStation here. Sometimes I can find it in a cash converter. Sometimes.
They're getting easier to find nowadays, but my point is, once you start removing that PS4 requirement, that's when the generation starts. And
right.
From what I've been hearing of, like, through rumors, is that there's a lot of games that are still being rumored to come out for the PS4.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, at this point is now 10 years old.
Oh
and
my
it could
gosh,
extend the
is it
life.
really?
It could, yeah, 2013.
Oh my gosh! Oh
And
wow!
yeah, so we're getting to the 10-year
Wow.
anniversary of both that, and the fact that it could extend the life of this to like 2026.
Yeah.
Maybe even more. Who knows? It's just crazy, to be honest.
But I feel like, as much as I love the Xbox, what do I have? S? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. I love that it's available to all consumers. Like at the time that I bought that, the Xbox X series was not available in Northern Ireland because we were very restricted. As I said, we were very locked down.
Jesus Christ, it was hard enough me getting one.
Yeah, so that's all I could get. Eventually, I'm going to stop being lazy and I'm going to go and actually purchase an Xbox X. But my point being, that Xbox S, while amazing for the consumer, 100%, I will always support Microsoft on that. I keep reading about how hard it is to develop on. Now, I don't know why, because I don't know the specifics. But I am worried that in order for Xbox to progress, they're going to have to drop this one. And I hope not, but you keep reading about the stories about how it's hard to develop for. Again, I don't know why.
I'll be honest, I just think it's a narrative that seems to be easy at the moment, but actually they're not taking into account that smart delivery does most of the heavy lifting anyway.
I mean, like, I've ran this over in my brain, my brain computer. I can't understand. Again, I'm not a developer. I do have some coding experience, but I'm not a developer by any means. A game developer. I'm not understanding where the breakdown is between the Xbox S and the Xbox X. Like, whereas you can kind of see it's more logical between the PS4 and the PS5. Why they are so separated. So I think maybe either it's an excuse or it's a valid reason. I think they're going to have to get rid of that one. Which I think is awful. I think it's awful.
Let's be honest, I know nothing of development. I'm not a coder. I'm not anything like that. I can't say I see what the big deal is, because I look at videos from people who do game development, especially Modern Vintage Gamer or MVG.
Right.
And he says that the Xbox One, the Xbox Series S is perfectly legitimate to develop for. There's nothing wrong with it, and actually,
what I've understood from day one.
Yeah, and also apparently it's like one of the best emulation boxes out there.
Right. I've heard that as well. So I'm very confused, but I know also that it's really come out the last few weeks. Now, when you see some sort of narrative like that, that's usually a precursor to like discontinuation. So
It usually is, but considering the kind of situation we sit in at the moment,
I
where there's been
know.
a chip shortage and all that, now there might be a bit of a surplus.
Also,
It's just awkward, and I can't see where that argument is coming from personally myself.
can I be honest here? I'm going to be honest here. Now, this is going off out of left field or whatever. But I just recently watched a kind of documentary on like lithium harvesting.
Hmm.
Holy crap. It's made me rethink a lot of things.
Yeah,
It
I'm not
both in
surprised by that.
business and in personal.
Yeah.
It explains why business has been so business as in technology has been so blocked, kind of slow and the chip shortage and all that stuff. But on a personal level, holy crap, it's like I almost don't want to purchase any
I know.
technology. It is
Look,
awful.
I know this is a
It is
rabbit hole that
awful.
we could go down massively, but I think we need to wrap it up.
Oh, is it time? Okay.
Yeah. So let me
uh,
just read these.
yes, you go ahead.
Let me read these comments. So,
Hmm.
Brent has been very active. Thank you, Brent, as always.
Yay.
Um, so I'll read the last few comments that came in whilst we were covering the last few bits. He said, Bethesda had it all, publishing arm, several developers and their franchises, an online infrastructure, and even a little bit of cloud assets. Activision Blizzard has some of that, but not nearly the same breadth of Bethesda.
I mean, you're not wrong. Mm, but you're a little bit wrong. I mean, only because uh the Overwatch League and WoW and Diablo. Those each had their own development teams, their own infrastructure, their own
Mm,
online cloud. Because I believe WoW is in a cloud. I believe. Um,
yeah, I believe so.
yeah. Which if WoW is, Diablo probably is as well. But don't quote me
Wouldn't
on that. I could be
surprise
wrong.
me.
So, I, I still to this day don't know why Activision is the more questioned of the two. Unless it's like what Pete said, which is just purely the amount of money that was exchanging.
Um, I think for several reasons, it's the amount of money, it's the publishing arm of it, it's the amount of IPs that they have that are universally recognizable,
But I
and
mean, Bethesda
let's be
has
honest,
Doom.
uh, okay, WoW, Diablo, Overwatch, like you've already mentioned those three, they're already multi-million sellers, and they
But
already sell more probably than most Bethesda games do.
Doom, Skyrim, Fallout. Mm.
Yeah, but
And Skyrim's
okay,
the same
yeah,
Skyrim for 10 years. It's like
o-
GTA 6 or whatever.
okay,
5? Yeah, whatever
so
number we're on.
fine. My counterpoint to that is
Mhm.
how many Bethesda properties have made it into South Park episodes and it's broken the pop culture barrier.
I mean, that's a fair point.
Call of
Yeah,
Duty
WoW is definitely in.
and WoW, like
Yeah.
like you look at the amount of numbers that WoW still gets even to this day for a 20-year-old game, it's just still incredible.
I mean,
Those numbers are just ludicrous.
it's true. Like, I think WoW is at a make or break point in this year, just based on, like I said, my flatmate or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, it they could recoup everything and be an amazing franchise again because they have such a loyal fan base.
They could, yeah.
So loyal.
But that's what I mean. It's like they have the most loyal of fan
They
bases
do,
who will still
100%.
play it regardless, and that
Yeah.
it's still pulling in that silly amount of numbers. Like
It is crazy.
I'm not trying to minimize the amount of impact that Bethesda's properties have had, and let's be honest, like a lot of those properties have been available with Bethesda for a long time.
Yes.
I still don't think we can count Doom in it because it's still its property.
Well, I mean,
Like, and they have only released 2 games under
there were 2
Bethesda's
really
arm.
good games.
Yes, they're not disparaging the quality
Oh,
of
I want to play
their
them
titles.
now.
They are very good,
Yes.
but by comparison to Activision Blizzard, where they, you know, you look around, and I don't want to be that person to say it's all about Call of Duty, but Jesus Christ, is it all about Call of Duty?
I do have to, I mean, I have to concede that yes, Call of Duty along with FIFA are always like the top 2 sellers across the
Hmm.
board. That's just hands down. That's just facts, you know. And maybe again, that's what all this boils down to. You know, we're talking about all these satellite games and stuff like that. And I know Brent said, you know, maybe it shouldn't be, you know, they focus so much on COD. But maybe it really does boil down to just COD.
I think it really does at this point. Like,
Yeah.
everything seems to be pointing that way. I think if you took Call of Duty out of the equation, they'd still be done by now.
I hate to say it, but Pete, I think you might be right. I think you might actually be right. Yeah. Because that's all Jim Ryan has focused on is Call of
Yeah,
Duty.
exactly. Like, how many times has he turned around and said, "Oh, we really need to keep Overwatch on here. Oh, we really need to keep
Right.
Diablo on here.
Diablo,
Oh,
yeah.
we really need to make sure that we can get a console version of World of Warcraft up and running." It's Call of Duty. It's been
That's
the
a good
biggest
point.
stumbling block of this whole thing.
That's a very disappointing, depressing, but a good point, actually. Maybe that is the whole basis for this. Ah! Why can't they
Yeah,
beat it?
it's almost like
Microsoft, I mean.
pretty much that Sony don't have any faith on their own developers to create a
Well,
multi-million seller.
that's the thing, and
And to
that's
be fair,
why.
and
Mhm.
and sorry,
No, you're
just to
fine.
raise this point, Call of Duty wasn't even massively popular between 2001 and 2008. It's once Call of Duty
Well,
4 hit the consoles and it just absolutely
it
slapped.
it was sort of popular, but let's be honest, my favorite Battlefield was way more popular at the time.
Well,
I
yeah,
still love Battlefield.
so yeah, remember that Call of Duty was PC exclusive until Call of Duty 3 turned up
On
on
Xbox, right?
Xbox 360.
Yes, it did.
But they did also have a slightly downgraded version of Call of Duty 2 called the Big Red One, I believe,
They
on the
did.
PS2.
They did. They did. It wasn't great. They did.
No, exactly. But
Halo
then a few
changed the
years
game
later
so
they
much.
ended up releasing Call of Duty 1 remastered,
They
I
did.
believe, for the consoles, and they did the remastered version for PC too.
They did because let's be honest, credit where credit's due. Halo, first of all, Halo 2, but on the 360, Halo 3 multiplayer took freaking off. And then that's when, was it Treyarch at the time? I think it was Treyarch.
It was Infinity Ward.
Infinity Ward.
Actually.
No, it's Infinity Ward. You're right, Pete. They just went nuts and was like, "Oh, well, Halo 3 is doing
Let's
great."
throw everything at the wall and try it.
They did, and it worked. It absolutely worked. That was a fun time in my life.
Yeah, remember the first 3 Call of Duties were all World War II shooters.
They were 100%, and I mean, I still think Battlefield did it better, but
they did.
We all played them, you know. So I don't know. I think both. I'm gonna say this for the podcast that I think both Brent and Pete are correct. I think this all boils down to Call of Duty. As much as I hate to admit it.
Let me just read these last couple of comments. So
yep.
Brent put the fact remains that the Activision Blizzard acquisition doesn't include much, if anything, cloud assets.
Right.
If Microsoft wants to buy Google, old Stadia tech, or GeForce Now, etc., then another antitrust suit can be looked into if that even happens. I agree.
I bet they do. I bet they try.
Which is why I don't think that if they are going to do it, they're not going to buy the Stadia tech outright.
No, I think they do.
They're going to license it.
Yeah, I think they'll license that, but they'll try to buy GeForce. I really do think so.
I really don't think so.
No,
I think if they wanted to buy GeForce, they wouldn't have made the deal with them. They would have tried to just. They might have just gone, okay, we'll see. You know, we might not be able to see this Activision Blizzard deal through,
I think that's the
but
main
we'll
concern.
go out and buy GeForce as a result, or Nvidia's GeForce service as a result.
Well, it'll definitely be interesting. I've said it before, and I stand by this. I do think GeForce and Stadia Online will be major players in the coming time. I do. I absolutely believe that.
Yeah. So then says, so does this is coming back. So does that mean that PlayStation didn't accept the 7-year exit? No, I think they have done regardless.
Yeah,
I think it's baked.
that
I think it's baked into the deal level that they've made sure of that now.
yeah, I think that went through, and then that's shortly after that is when the Jim Ryan emails, the notorious emails leaked. And, well, I say emails, it's not just emails, it's also the private discussions in the arbitration.
Oh, the old internal documents and stuff
yeah, exactly. And you find out that he's like, he doesn't care. He 100% doesn't care. He just wants to block the merger. Oh, that makes me angry all over again.
Yeah. Anyway, so said maybe the deal with Nintendo had the next Nintendo console in mind. I think it did.
Yeah, 100%.
So when Warframe exceeded their memory allocation on the Switch, they announced ahead of time that an SD card would be required and even offered coupons to buy the official Nintendo one. I think that's really good.
That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
And he then finishes up by saying, Doom, Quake, Wolfenstein, that's free from id. Oh, and my favourite, Rage.
Oh, Rage! Oh, I always forget about Rage.
Yes,
Rage
I forget
really
about
good.
Rage too.
Yeah, Rage is great. A lot of references in there as well.
We're done here. That's Microsoft's attempt to buy Activision Blizzard and the subsequent fallout. Kind of makes me wish we were talking about Bethesda.
I was gonna say, or CMA's Overwatch. I'm trying really hard. I can tell by Pete's face that did not land. But I want to say thank you for joining us. This was a huge show that's been actually in the making for 2 or 3 weeks now. Pete did a lot of research. I did some research. But we've been dying to talk about this because it's huge. If you're a gamer at all, you know that this is massive. This is major because it sets a precedence. If the deal merger is rejected, this is a huge precedence, not just for Microsoft, but for all gaming platforms. Sony may not be able to buy something like Destiny, Bungie, in the future. See, they haven't thought about that. Mm-hmm. I wish Microsoft would have blocked that. But anyway, it's because it was not very much. I don't remember how much it was, but it wasn't
3 or 4 billion, I think it was. But there was also news, and I don't want to cause another talking point.
Right.
But there was the news recently that apparently Sony have leveraged a certain amount of money towards studio acquisitions this year.
Yeah. People were kind of...
Hypocrites.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, that's that cold coming out again.
And people were trying to guess what was going to happen. Oh, we have so much to talk about because we need to talk about Capcom and all that. Anyway, we do thank you for joining us, especially on this episode, which is, like I said, it's been weeks in the making. We will talk about this again because there's just so many levels to this as it continues on. Let us know your thoughts and tater tots on this, because if you're in the gaming world, you're following this. We want to know your questions, which Pete will put all that in the show notes because I can't remember my own name at this point. But Pete, it's the problem with Monday nights.
It's at the end of the audio version of this podcast anyway, so you can get in contact with us through the various platforms. But Kylie, I won't ask you what yours is because you can't remember yours, so I'll just tell it's Kylie to Greet, KILEYTEHGRET.
I'm so glad he did that.
And mine's at PeteBeckett1 on Twitter, so it'd be ECKT and the number 1. Let's close this show.
Okay, let's get this done because it's late and we all want to go to sleep. All right, thank you so much for joining us, both our viewers and our watchers. No, listeners. gosh. Anyway.
Well, viewers as well, if you watch the YouTube.
But I said viewers and watchers.
I know,
viewers and
viewers,
listeners.
watchers, and listeners.
Yes, as Kieran reminds us, or used to remind us, that this is also an audio medium. So we will see you and talk to you next week. Bye.
Goodbye.
Well, we'll do 2 minutes.
A couple of minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Let me just switch my stuff over 2 seconds.
Okay. Whew, I knew that was going to be a big episode. That's over 2 hours, but it's too important.
Oh,
and
it was massive.
Still,
yeah, it needed to be done.
Like it's still cooking.
It is, yeah.
You know.
But
so
I did want to talk to you quickly about something I did this week actually, and it is gaming related.
Okay.
I played Resident Evil 4 Remake's
Did you really?
demo.
Oh, did you? How was it? Because I thought about you. This is like the 10-year anniversary.
It is.
Or something like that. And I thought about you when I saw that.
No.
Is it 20?
It's near 20 years now.
So old.
I know.
Watching Chuck has made me realize just how old I am. But anyway, Pete, how did you find it?
I like it. But
now
I
that's
don't
good.
at the same time.
So how's the controls?
I think it's the same problem I had with RE2 Remake.
Oh really? No, I enjoy the controls on RE2 Remake. What is it?
It feels awkward to me as someone who's not a shooter player or over the shoulder sort of combat sort of person. It's quite awkward for me.
Really?
And I will admit that I kind of suck at it. My aim's not great.
It's not a good shooter, though. It's not a good shooter. I mean, it wasn't back then. I don't know if it is.
No, but I felt it had a lot of character about it because you know my opinion on it.
I do.
Really like
you loved it.
The really weird, schlocky sort of B movie like aesthetic to it. Like, yes, it had the tank controls, but
which was terrible for me.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people are not particularly fond of it in any way, shape, or form. However, I was a big fan of them in that game because I felt they did enough to advance it in to a point where it didn't feel quite the same. Mm-hmm. And I felt it fit with the tight sort of aesthetic of the game as well, like how narrow it was.
Right.
Now, in the remake, it looks fantastic. They've made some nice additions to the areas as well. And holy crap, the chainsaw guy is unreal.
That's great. That's good.
Super creepy.
Nice.
I just don't like how homogenized it is.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
it feels too sterile to me.
I was gonna say
it feels too nice.
Right.
That's what, like I said, was one of the things that I really liked about the original version of it, and it's the thing that I worried the most about it. They've made some great updates in terms of the gameplay, but I feel like it's going to lose something for me.
Right. Now that is interesting.
So, yeah, it might be one that I wait on now. I'm going to have to wait. I think I'm going to wait for it a bit more.
Brent says, did you play on the secret difficulty?
I did not. I didn't know about that existing until that happened.
And then I was disappointed that I couldn't save the dog. What?
Yeah, you can't save the dog. Like, they've completely changed that now.
Why?
I know. I looked around and I saw it on the floor. But also, to be fair, this isn't just an RE problem for me.
Right, okay.
I had the same problem with Dead Space Remake as well.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, okay.
I had the same problem. So it's the over-the-shoulder. I really liked it in God of War, in God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah.
But that's because it's not shooting. It's like hard combat.
I know exactly what you mean. Yes. Yes, because as an FPS player, I don't like over-the-shoulder. You're right, Pete. You're absolutely right. I hadn't thought of that. You are correct. Because
yeah, so I'd like to say that I'll get it day one, but I'm going to wait back on it now. I think once it goes down in price, like I did with
Yeah,
RE2 remake,
which I
I'll
I very much enjoyed, but
I do like it.
Ari
Like, but
Resident Evil is not a shooter. It's clunky
no, and that's
with the
where I think a
shooters.
lot of its detriment is that
Hmm.
they're trying too hard to make them shooter games,
Right,
and they're
and they're
not.
not
They're
shooters.
not that. They're survival horror games with a bit of action in them.
You know, something very similar to that is, believe it or not, Last of Us.
Yeah.
Last of Us is not a shooter, and people will argue with you. It's not a shooter.
Oh,
It's
I know it's not.
it.
Remember watched
Hmm.
a playthrough of that game when it first came out, and I said the
It's
first thing
very
I said
clunky.
about it was awful. Like the shooting
Yeah,
mechanics were terrible.
it is, and that actually made me think of RE2 at the time because, like, or remake RE2 remake,
Yeah.
uh, because so many people think, oh, a gun in a horror game, I'm going to be able to shoot my way out of this, and
Hmm.
something like Last of Us or RE2 at the time, which is probably true of this RE4. They're not shooters. You're not supposed to have great power with guns and stuff like that because they're
Yeah.
not meant to be. It's not an FPS, that type
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
And to be fair, like I have gone back and I've played RE4, like the original version, quite a lot
Mhm.
of times, and I still love it. I still think, like, despite its tank controls, I still think it's a great game.
See, that reminds me of uh also Brent said, "Did you use the cow?" Which is that was
Yes, I
over my head.
did. That was
Okay.
fantastic, to be fair. I thought it was going to attack me the first time.
Oh my goodness.
No, it started running. Honestly, it started running towards me and was proper going for it as well. And I thought it was going
Oh
to attack me.
goodness.
It Look, the additions that they have made to the game has given it a little bit of character as
Oh, at
well.
least that. I mean, that's good.
I, but like I said, I remember I mentioned this like
Yeah.
a while back, and I said it to someone on Twitter as well that I was having a debate with, like, all nice and friendly, of course.
Oh yeah.
Um, where they didn't like the original RE4, whereas I
Yeah, I
love it.
don't. I
So
don't
they were
like it,
more
but
excited
you
about the
you do.
remake than I was.
Right. That's true.
So I could imagine that most of the people have gone, the remake's going to be brilliant. I'm one of the people that's like, the remake's going to be brilliant, but it's not going to be for me.
Right.
Which is fine.
I
Not
mean,
every
yeah,
game's made for you.
exactly. Exactly. Like I'm waiting for them to make around about the same time Parasite Eve came out. Uh,
Hmm.
I bought that because I love both Final Fantasy and I think RE2 is out at that time. The controls on Parasite Eve are terrible. The game itself is wonderful. The graphics
Yeah.
are stunning. For that time period, obviously. But the controls are more like RE4 controls. They're awful, clunky, over the shoulder camera that you can't control type thing.
Yeah.
But there's been rumors that Parasite Eve is going to be remade, and I am looking forward to that. Like, because there's such a good story there, you know.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I'm fingers crossed. Like for me, RE2, the remake, it just hit so well. It just did all the things well. But again, I don't know. I could be wrong. Uh, Brent
But
says,
it's
mhm.
probably going to be one of those things that's going to be very well revered by most, I think. And fair enough. Yeah, because they're just probably not going to be for me.
Yeah, which is fine. That's fine. Brent says we're in a weird position where you can play both the remake and the port on modern consoles, so you have a choice. Now, see, that
Yeah,
makes
but
me
I'm not
think.
one to want to go and re-buy the same game that I've bought
Well,
for probably twice now.
see, that makes me think though of the Master Chief Collection. Um, One of the things that I absolutely adore about that is the ability to switch between modern and classic.
Yeah, I
While you're
agree.
playing. I love that. It's so cool because it's like you're playing like so. Let's say Halo 2. You're playing Halo 2, and you think you're playing what you remember because you're playing the
Yeah.
modern one, and then you hit that select or start button. I don't remember whatever, and it puts you in the old original version, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I remember that actually because
It looks like this.
I think it was during one of the summers actually where cloud gaming had just come in
Oh
on
yeah.
that, and I was reviewing a controller at the time, so I was like, all right, I'm
Oh
going to take this
gosh.
out. It was a nice. It was during the summer. The weather was nice, so I was like, all right, I'll go and sit out somewhere nice, sit with a good bit of signal, see what I can try out with it.
Right.
And I must have pressed a button that sort of changed it back, and I was like, why does this look super horribly? Like, what? I was like, oh, full classic. Okay. That's not to say it looked bad. It's just it
No,
looked. I
yeah.
just thought it was my data being shite.
It, it's crazy because I had played like the original Halo. I had played it obsessively with one of my friends. And so in my head I have this like different version in my mind of this, like I was just so happy and it was such a good time or whatever. And so then I got the Master Chief Collection and I went to play Halo CE in its original form. And I was just like, this is awful.
Yeah.
So, I'd flip it between the modern versus, the
Yeah.
original. And I was like, how did we play? We played for hours, literal hours. And I'm looking at it going, how did we play this? Oh my gosh, I
Oh, I
miss
know.
Halo. I miss Halo so much. Whew. But I think we're going to wrap it up. Unless you have
Yes.
anything more to say, Pete. Let's see. Brent.
No, that's it.
Brent says, I think the only swap in the RE4 remake is the original soundtrack. I wouldn't know
Yeah.
that one.
I'll be honest. Nothing stood out in terms of musically on the demo for RE4 remake, but I am gonna say something very, very controversial here. But I actually think that RE5 has a better soundtrack than RE4.
Oh, goodness. I'll have to take
Especially
your
its
word for
combat
it.
encounters. The action music that they have for the combat encounters in certain areas,
Mm.
really dynamic, really good, and it shows what Capcom was really good at the time as well.
Right.
Whilst the game was somewhat lacking in terms of some aspects, I am not one of these sorts of people that absolutely shits all over RE5 because I think RE5 is not the best,
It's not the best.
but it's still a fun game to
Wow.
play co-op.
That's what but that was such an off time in gaming, let's be honest.
Yeah, I remember taking my Xbox
Mhm.
360. And oh my god, I wish I still had this one, by the way. I wish I'd have kept hold of this one. I had one of the special edition blood red
What?
Xbox 360s
Why did you get rid of it, Pete?
and the blood red controller as well.
Oh my gosh.
They were excellent. And I remember taking that Xbox over to my friend's house for a weekend and we smashed through RE5
Oh
co-op in one weekend.
goodness.
It was so much fun.
Well, I'll tell you, since you said that, I'll tell you what I left in Texas when I came here. I
Yeah.
had to leave because I couldn't take much, obviously. I left my Halo limited edition Xbox with my Halo limited edition controller with my Master Chief helmet special edition Halo 3. I had to give it to
Oh
the
my
neighbor.
god.
I was like, please take care of this. And he's like, I will. And I believe him 100%. But I had to leave. I just didn't have the room in my luggage. And to this day, I
Yeah.
just hate that. Oh, I hate that. But, Brent says, I traded the RE Red 360 for the S model. I mean, okay. I can understand that.
I can understand that because that's
Yeah.
exactly what I did too.
I can understand it.
Yeah, I think it was around about the point because they were still suffering with the Red Ring of Death issues
Oh, gosh.
that I went, okay, I think mine's going a bit screwy, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to purchase an S out of this one.
Yeah. I had 3 uh normal X, not the limited Halo edition, but the 3 just normal Xboxes I had to go through. I had to send them back to Microsoft or whatever because of the Red Ring of Death. By the time I bought the Halo special edition though, they cleared up whatever the thing was, but holy crap, that Red Ring of Death was so upsetting. Oh. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up. It has been great. Brent says, and I traded the Halo 360 for the Elite Edition. I didn't get the Elite Edition. Although it did look incredibly sexy.
What was that? Sorry.
The Elite Edition. Brent said he
Oh,
traded the Halo 360 for the Elite Edition.
I mean, you can
I
sort of understand why.
I don't understand. Like, Kieran, I think we were on here talking about when the Halo, the Xbox Series, whatever X, whatever,
Hmm.
came out, and he really loved it. The whole stars and galaxy looking
Oh,
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just don't. I don't know. I just think it should have been green. That's
I
just
mean,
me.
it really probably
But
should have been.
that's probably me feeling that way because I had the 360 Halo edition. And it was
Yeah,
like, Master Chief is green. It should be green. But instead, they
agreed.
chose the Covenant colors. But anyway, that's enough of that. We're going to wrap this
Yes.
up. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's been so much fun. I have missed this. Hopefully, we
Indeed.
won't go another 2 weeks, but things do happen. Life happens.
It does.
But
We
we,
apologise for that.
yeah, we do. But we'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Goodbye.